Good move.
Jump in and incriminate myself.
Call the meeting to order, the Gates County Commission at 1 o'clock p.m. June 25th, 2014. Rise for the pledge. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
It's off now. Somebody's clapping.
Yep, now it's recording, it's fixed.
Okay, we'll start out with approval of the agenda. Roll call, sorry. John Wakefield.
Here.
Dale O'Keefe.
Here.
Ron Dahl.
Here.
John Steffen.
Here.
Troy's here. We're all here. Now we can go to approval of the agenda.
Sure can.
I know, Ron, you sent me a few things. Are they on here?
I think so.
Okay.
Yep, I
Good.
believe they all are.
Cindy's added some stuff that needs to be taken care of. Harold is coming at 1:30.
Sounds bad.
Okay.
Yep.
Does anybody have any corrections or additions to the agenda?
I'll move to approve the agenda as presented.
It's been moved to approve the agenda as presented. Is there a second to the motion?
Second.
Seconded by Dale. Is there any discussion? Is there any discussion? Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Pages 2 through 9 are the minutes of the June 6th and 12th meeting. I had Samantha and Cindy make a couple of little changes you might notice in the tax directors. Right at the end when we were talking about the revaluation and how it pertains to the state's recommendations, but it wasn't material, really.
The changes are not highlighted, are they? Or,
Not this time.
No, I had to
Sorry.
make them.
Okay.
The one was on, like I said, the road. It went from 6 to 26 on the road department part. And then
Okay.
the other part was, I had put that Emily had requested. And now it says,
Page 8.
page 8, yeah.
Hmm.
So that the commission know that the state can raise, okay, no, that was before that. Okay.
And I didn't listen to the recording, but instead of saying that she asked the commission to raise the valuations,
She informed the
she just
commission.
told us what the statistics are,
Okay.
and we had discussion, follow-up, and decided to leave it at the
So
same.
it's actually the second question, the second sentence is what got changed. She, instead of she requested, it says she informed the commission that ag
okay.
land was 80%, instead of requesting you to change it to 10%. That sentence got changed. So I don't know if you want to do a motion again on separate or both of them together as presented today? Without reading them, or?
Harold?
My name is spelled wrong in the fourth paragraph.
On which page?
Page 2.
Oh, fun, not son.
First or last name?
Nah,
Sorry. Or Olson.
I got S-E-N instead of S-O-N.
Made a Dane out of you.
Yeah.
Tries to raise your standing.
Make them Danish is raising their standing.
Any additions or corrections to the minutes as presented for the June 6th meeting?
And, oh, you're gonna do separate, okay.
Good afternoon, Harold.
I'll spell your name right.
Hmm?
I'll make sure I spell your name right.
It's not really much of a tongue twister.
You use it, copy and paste, that's
My name
weird.
was Randy Kushka, and I would.
Maybe it was to wish.
How'd you do rotundas then? Because there's no R in there.
No R in there.
Rotunda at the end. You know, you think of tundra?
Oh,
You know?
I was gonna say there shouldn't be an R in there at the end.
Pronounce it correctly. Anything in the June 6th minutes you guys see?
Sean's always the guy to make the motion. It's kind of, we're in a trend here.
Can't be creatures of habit.
Okay. I move that we approve the June 6th meeting minutes as presented and forego reading them out loud.
Ron has moved that we dispense with the reading of the minutes of June 6th and approve them as presented. Is there a second to the motion?
I'll move to second.
Seconded by Sean. Is there any discussion? Is there any discussion? Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Come on, Merle, give up. Now we'll move on to the June 12th minutes. That was a special meeting, right?
Yeah.
Short agenda, long meeting.
Wait for the discussion.
See something in there, Sean?
No, I was just, we talked about this, so.
Gary's talked about a lot. Even on Bob's.
Talk to both.
Just at the discussion, we state.
Huh?
I'd move to approve the June 12th Commissioner proceeding minutes and dispense with reading.
Been moved by Sean to dispense with the reading of the minutes and approve the June 12th meeting minutes as presented. Is there a second to the motion?
I'll second.
Seconded by Dale. Is there any discussion? Is there any discussion? Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. You want to move into the bills, or do you want to let Harold do his thing and then move into the bills?
Up to you.
Let's see the bills first, they can get them.
Okay.
Sorry, Bill.
No, I got no problem.
We need to give Harold more time.
You can move over the last two times,
I have the actual invoices if anybody has any questions on the bills. Insure forward, that's an annual.
I was just gonna ask that too. That's on this
Animals on this building.
this facility.
This, the road, and some sheds and buffers.
How much of it is for this building alone, do you know?
Well, see, that's all liabilities, most of what that is.
Okay.
You know, on your vehicles.
It's not property, just liability.
No, yeah, 'cause
Property
I,
insurance is through the state.
yeah, State Parks Mail, and I'm thinking I need to call them again and find out, because I think usually we have their bill by now too.
Mm.
But I think since they're previewing whether they're gonna cover that building,
Mm.
they're behind on us, I think.
Okay.
So I'm gonna call them and find out what's going on.
Okay.
So I'll put that on my agenda to do.
That electric bill, isn't that Hanson instead of Hamden?
Yeah, it is Hanson, so I thought I changed it, I didn't.
Mm-mm, it's still handing.
And then, on the other side, the courthouse is spelled wrong too.
This is just a report for you guys, so
Okay.
So it doesn't matter.
it doesn't matter, because that's not how the checks come out. Sorry, guys.
Thanks for making us feel good.
What are you trying to say there,
You
Sean?
are. Sorry. Still, us a good run.
Just for you guys, it doesn't matter.
It's right, okay, it's right in the checks, it's just,
Okay, I did it.
I thought it was cat house.
what?
No.
Any questions on the bills?
Well, I'd move to approve the auditor's warrants and June vouchers as presented.
Sean moved to approve the auditor warrants and the June vouchers as presented. Is there a second to the motion?
I'll second.
Seconded by Dale. Is there any discussion?
Yeah, I have discussion. We took crafts, I think, out of your guys' budget,
The what?
crafts bill.
$15,000.
Is that what it is? What is, no, it's 7,000
Oh,
this time. And I wanted to know, and the reason I brought it up also, is she donated some time here too.
said it came out of the new courthouse.
Okay, that's your guys' budget that you transferred money out, of, so that's why I'm asking
Okay.
if you want to change that or not. And then, she did donate time, right, Connie? So I thought maybe you should look at hers at least.
Don't you think that's where it should come from?
The new courthouse, yes, but I wanted to make sure that was all right.
That's what we took the previous payment out of.
Yeah, yeah.
Could the county request reimbursement from the Bank of North Dakota for that amount?
We can't, no, building authority would have to.
I thought we could request.
No, I think it's all building authority.
So we have to submit it through the building authority if we
Yeah.
want to do that.
And then you're crossing the line. The whole reason the thing was done in the first place is to keep private funds away from public funds, because public funds were not allowed to be involved in this.
Yeah, good point.
It's,
Do you remember how much time she donated? No? Okay. That was in there somewhere.
Actual extra hour that occurred. 124.
I think it just said hours.
Oh, the difference would be between 124 and 92.
Hours.
$dollars per hour. $dollars per hour.
$125 per hour. Actual extra hours incurred is 124, and she billed us for 91.
Oh, okay.
So basically
33 hours.
33
Okay.
hours. If I did the math right on that.
Yeah.
Finish the motion. Yeah, call a few times.
Is there any further discussion on the vouchers? Any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll proceed to vote. John?
Aye.
Dale?
Aye.
Ron?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Troy votes aye. Motion carried. audit, Harold.
I'm here for questions if you have them. The only change was, we talked about it, was making sure the courthouse was under building fund, and that was it. So that's only change from the last audit we went through, so
Okay, everything else looks good?
everything else is good. I think one thing, I just want to check it on page 1. Do you want to have all the dates for everybody? You know, going, since you guys had the election, technically we had one board from January to October, and you guys are October to December.
Correct.
Do you want me to list that for everybody like that?
Yeah, that needs to be separate, what was done prior to.
Oh, but I'm saying, but you notice I got that October, December on page 1.
Oh.
That's what I'm talking about, yes. Do you want to show it that way? Do you want to show it a different way? You can put it like on top or on the side, I mean, but you want to, I'm assuming you want to designate it that way, right? Do you want it for the other employees too, like with Dan and Kelly and Maria and Jamie?
Yeah, I don't know.
No, I mean, that's grammatical stuff, I just wasn't sure what your form, how you wanted her to see it.
No.
Because that's your page. You have a preference?
I think it looks fine.
Okay. Because I just want to make sure you're comfortable with that. And then the bottom page, our last page is again those transfers we talked about. So the one that shows up differently from those that we talked about is in essence showing how the courthouse was paid for by the general fund going into the courthouse. No, 767, 359, 54. And that was the net effect of making sure the cost shows in the courthouse and the revenue from the building authority and the general fund. So that's
That
that.
number was 804 or something.
Well, see what happened was, keep in mind, there's two things, two numbers that changed. First of all, is we left the interest in the general fund.
Okay,
So 767 doesn't include the interest.
okay,
And then they had minor costs that I originally included. So I was like meeting expense, you know, you had like for the super value, you have bills and some things. I left those in the general fund and not in the building. Because technically that, and if you want to move them over, then we can. But that was, so
the interest needs to stay where it is.
that's what it is. And that's the thing. That was the net effect of what your decision was at that meeting was.
Okay,
Not to show it in the building and not to start it in the 10 mil. But to leave it in the general because there was no money in the 10 mil last year to pay for. And that's why it's in there. So ultimately in the general fund, the miscellaneous meeting expenses plus the interest is courthouse costs. And the only construction cost is just showing under the courthouse fund. And then that's like when they craft bill, you're gonna show those two in there. But other than that, that's the only change we made from the last one, so if you're ready, she's ready.
I do have a couple questions. The transfers in and out of the general fund,
Yep.
a negative $638,000. That's reflective of the courthouse fund also, correct?
That's all because of the courthouse.
Okay, so then the question is, was some of the money, the difference between the 767 and the 638, you're saying that some of the money then, the $140,000 was budgeted for that new courthouse?
No, actually, if you look at that last page, technically the three loans, the three transfers you talked about first went into the general fund, so that became a net number. So the net cost to the general fund, you have to take out
Oh, it went in there
County
and it came
loan.
back.
county loan, emergency, and insurance money, the part of the 290. So that becomes a net cost to the general fund then, because in theory is you can transfer that money into the general fund, but I think you start transferring it into the building fund itself, then it becomes kind of dicey. So both those pieces went to the general fund. So the general fund, the 767 that went in the courthouse, if you look on those three transfers, so it'll be the
It's 130,000.
130,000 coming from non-general fund.
Yeah, so it's within a couple $1,000s. of
And then
being correct.
another amount is just that amount you transferred with the general fund for that social security deficit, and then what came into the cost center. So that's why you put all those pieces together, that's what the net number is. So when you look at the net transfer in the general fund, it's net, not gross. But the 767 is ultimately what went
Yeah,
into the courthouse.
because you considered $130,000 within the 2013 budget, even though the use for it was changed midterm.
Okay. Again, I think you guys, you want to leave it alone,
Yeah.
because you said that you were gonna change stuff to pass those.
Well, it's, we don't know what's,
Yeah.
well, it needs to be, yes, it is. Then the other question I had on page 29, and this is just, I don't know the answer to this.
Okay.
Notes payable to a financial institution, long-term, over a year.
Yep.
Isn't that supposed to be, what is the justification for doing that? Because aren't we then obligating the county to funds that haven't been authorized through the, whatever process it might be, whether it be approval of the people? Because we don't know, we can spend that out of the general fund, but we don't know the excess in the general fund for those coming years. So how is it authorized to borrow money? How can we borrow money? What gives us the authorization to do that? I don't see that anywhere.
They did it out of the emergency fund.
Well, actually, those three notes come out of three different funds. First one is the county loan fund, and by rights, you can obligate that fund because that's the only purpose of it. So when you went to the bank, you said we're gonna use that. Now, if you look at, and I know what you're talking about, John, is when you talk about going past 1 year or not having the money, there is a question about whether legally people can do that. And that has been fuzzed up in the legal community quite well. But I mean,
I don't think there's a question about it.
well,
I think it's dead.
I think, you know what, from where you're coming from, I totally understand your point of view. But unfortunately, they've allowed people to do that. And it used to be like same as certificate of indebtedness, it'd be the one traditional form of borrowing, but it had to be paid back with the next year's taxes.
It has to be able to be paid back out of the next year's general fund.
If it's a certificate of indebtedness.
Yeah, and well, this certainly is.
No, CIGs are actually loans, and that's when they start playing, they start parsing the word games on. And I agree with you. You know, the one thing you start looking at is if you start.
That's like saying it's okay to go to drive your car 90 miles an hour because no one's gonna catch it.
That's right. But I mean, the loans have been signed, and those become points of, you know, and that's where you have Jamie give his opinion on that, on the legal side of that. And, you know, it has been traditionally done, should have been done, and is it actually right? I totally, and I see your point. And
And we did it. I mean, this board has done that. We did that for,
yeah, you did it twice. Yeah, 2 vehicles.
yeah,
The sheriff's vehicle and the,
yeah.
I guess social service.
No, that was before, but we did the sheriff's.
Yeah, you did the sheriff's
I think
vehicle.
it's, I don't think there's a gray area at all. I think it's black and white, and I think we're on the wrong side of the line.
From basic borrowing, you're talking like not having to go to the people. I think you're right.
And well, and going outside the limit of 1 year of spending. I mean, because we can't set the 2016 budget. We don't know if there's gonna be a surplus in there enough to cover that.
Right.
What always happens is the reason it's a gray area is because they get to the end of the year, there was enough money. And so that it's a wash, but if there, the reason the law was written is so that you don't do that, so that, because now we are basically setting a budget for a prior commit, a future commission.
Right.
We could actually be indebting them to something that they didn't agree to.
Right.
Yeah.
No, and I think, I think you could make a very valid case, and people that have a hard time arguing, their answer is, well, we've got to find a way around it. And I don't agree with that mindset, but that's what people start doing, is they immediately, the first time it's written, they go, okay, now let's find that loophole.
Yeah.
And I hate loopholes, and I hate people going to loopholes, and the problem you have is you go, okay, these guys did it, and that becomes a precedent, and they go, well, that's how we could do it. You're going, man, you really shouldn't. But from a fiscal point of view, the other thing is, anytime you're borrowing for stuff like that, that's a red flag, that you got problems.
Yeah.
Big red flag. As you're saying, if I don't feel I can write a check out, then my finances are pretty shaky. And we're gonna have a reckoning down the
Yeah.
road.
Yeah.
You're
I
right.
agree.
Yep. And that's, you are fiscally setting yourself up to have issues. Absolutely right. And right now, the state has kicked enough money into cash accounts that you can say, well, we might be able to beat it. But the problem is, if they just go like that, then all of a sudden you go, now we got problems because we got the maximum levy and we get a deficit, and I don't know what we're gonna do about it.
Yeah, and it can't come back, what other counties have done or tried to do is come back and then say, well, we're gonna use the emergency fund for this, and you can't, because if it was emergency when you made the loan out, that's when it should have been done, not after the fact.
Checks have been written, not
Yeah.
Yep, you're right. And
Yeah.
the emergency fund is one of those areas where they get very liberal in their interpretation of that too, what's an emergency. And,
So these should be cleaned up as they come due and that shouldn't be done.
right,
No more borrowing.
I agree. Yep, that's borrowing money short term for stuff that you should have money for is not a good thing to
Okay,
do. Okay,
that was the question.
all right. All right. Yeah, I think I got 10 minutes back. You got 10 minutes back.
Thank
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Harold.
Thanks, Harold.
Harold.
Oh, boy.
I think I might want this.
I did.
One time I did. Looked at it, well,
Now we're gonna have to discipline ourselves.
Yeah.
I think it was your idea.
I think so.
Take the credit, right?
I think it's a good idea.
Yeah. So now the budget is reflective of what's actually been done. We now have a figure of what was put into the
Courthouse project.
courthouse project that we've been asking for since we took office, and no one can figure out, it's $767,000. Over and above the cost of the grant and the tax levy.
And the project's still underfunded by $1 million.
And the project's still underfunded by $1 million. So the new cost of the project is,
5.2 million. So
that's correct, just exactly what was said a year ago when this whole started. So now do we owe it to the public to let them know that this is what actually happened? Because it's been disputed over and over and over again of what the cost of this project was gonna be. And now we know what the cost of this project was.
I think before we get into that discussion, I think we should consider approving this audit. I don't think that discussion
Yeah.
is really part of this audit,
Yeah.
part of this discussion. So with that said, does anybody have any other items they would like to discuss in the audit that Harold presented?
My only question is to Cindy, what did you say again, that some of these pages, the numbers are gonna change?
Not audit, they aren't.
Oh, okay, I
Your end of your
misunderstood.
totals
Okay.
will, and that's
For
what I have to give it to you.
our
I have
year-end
to
reports
give
are
it
gonna
to you.
change based on these entries.
Oh, okay, I thought, I misunderstood.
Yeah.
Okay,
And then I'll get that to you the next meeting.
okay,
Yeah.
all right, I misunderstood.
So I mean, the important number in the whole audit
That back page.
is the $79,000 that was actually brought forward. That's what we, the 179,000, and of which we had $29,000 left over is what it really amounts to.
What page is that again, Doug?
That's the carryover.
That's the
from
carryover.
2013 and 14 and the projected carryover.
Yeah,
from
that
14.
Cindy correctly projected. I mean, he was in a couple $1,000s for that,
Yeah.
and that was good. That was a correct projection. So I make a motion to approve the audit. I don't see any.
John has moved to approve the audit as presented by Harold. Is there a second to that motion? Seconded by Dale. Is there any discussion? Is there any discussion? Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, we proceed to vote. Do we need to voice this?
Yeah.
I think I would on
I
this
mean,
one.
John,
Aye.
Dale,
Aye.
Ron,
Aye.
Sean,
Aye.
Troy votes aye. Motion carries. Now, this needs to be sent to the Bank of North Dakota.
Yeah, we need,
Yeah.
and
Good.
Financial, public financial management.
two, yeah, Bank of North Dakota and Public Financial gets, each of them get it. I have both of them listed in my emails to get that done.
B&D Safekeeping wants this, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
and Dee wants it too. And I need to get it out today, if that's possible.
Just as a matter of fact, doesn't it seem strange to you that we have to approve an audit when an audit is supposed to be the
The approval itself.
it's supposed to be whatever happened. We shouldn't have any. There shouldn't be any option to approve or not approve it. It is a factual accounting of what happened, and the whole fact that we were given the ability to modify his audit doesn't sit very well with me. That's not how it's supposed to happen.
Well, that's a good point. I mean, if we wanted to make the numbers look better, I guess we could tell him to redo it
Yeah,
and improve it, which doesn't.
So then what's the purpose of an audit?
Then we might be over budget on him too, because he did not get paid last year, so we owe him for 2 years of audit.
How
This
come he
time
didn't get
last year.
paid? How come he didn't get
It
paid?
just didn't get in.
He didn't bill for it?
It's probably, yeah, he didn't bill for it, so he didn't get paid for last year's or this year's, so we owe him for 2, so I don't know how far that's gonna take us over. Just to let you know, he's supposed to get his billing. You have time, do you wanna cover some of the other ones before the court rods next, or some of the extra stuff?
Bills, audit. Do we need anybody here for weed bids?
Yeah, no, nobody's coming except for Joe will be coming up at that time.
Okay,
If you wanna go to, beer and liquor license.
Yeah,
it's
let's
just
do
a-
it. Let's do that.
Booze
Motion
always,
okay.
booze always makes me happy.
It's just a motion to accept it. And there's the license,
It's just a renewal or what?
yeah, 6 month.
Augie.
Yeah, Augie.
I thought we got to set the prices they charge.
I think Augie's pretty fair.
Happy hour is now from the time you open until an hour after you close.
The beer and retail liquor license presented to us today is from the Sutton Pub. August Ralph is the proprietor. he is asking us to renew this for another period of 12 months, 6 months?
Yeah, till the end of December. Is that what it says, or are they wrong?
No, it says end of December, but they don't have to get a new permit every 6 months.
He's been doing it every 6 months. They were doing it for a year, and I think it's because if they get somebody else to run it, that's what they do.
Yeah.
And that's why he's been doing it 6 months
Well,
again
he's
now.
trying to retire.
I think so,
As of today, he's unlicensed. Huh?
yeah. No, it starts July 1st.
Maybe we should recess and go check the in.
Yeah.
We must have some kind of responsibility in this.
We take the excursion.
You were
It
hoping.
doesn't have lights on.
Who's driving?
I make a motion we approve his beer and liquor license.
Been moved to approve the beer and liquor license for the Sutton Pub. Is there a second to the motion?
I'll move the second.
Seconded by Sean. Is there any discussion? Is there any discussion? Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
The road one should be a lot easier than the ACA one, if you want to do the road one.
Road.
It's just every 2 years we send in a road report,
Yeah.
and the chairman's supposed to sign off on it.
That's page 13 and 19.
That's just a condition of the roads in the county.
No, it's what they get reimbursed for the miles, the
Oh.
townships.
You're
It's
just,
just
you're just
townships.
certifying how many miles you have in
In the
township.
townships, yeah.
Oh.
And we didn't change them from last year. So if you want to pay it, I'll pay it, and then he can sign it, and then we'll get it in the mail today. It's due by July 1st. There's not much to it.
I'll make a motion that we approve the township road mileage certification.
Dale's moved to approve the Township Road certification report for the state. Is there a second?
Yeah, I'll second it.
Second by Ron. Is there any discussion? Is there any discussion? Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Did you want to go back up to the ACA now, Affordable Care Act?
Sure.
When you don't have 50 employees, there's different rules, but I don't know how much they're gonna put on W-2s or anything else, so it's kinda nice to let PERS, us attend their meetings and let them tell us how we're supposed to do it. And then have Jamie okay it or whatever. This way, if you put the auditor's office, it would be a point of contact for doing this. But it's up to you.
So is each county an individual group then? Is that their
Not
determination?
all counties go through
Or PERS?
PERS, because some of them go through, they're self-insured. Like I think, Valley City is, Cass County, is, probably Minot. Some of the bigger ones in Grand Forks are self-insured. Their groups are big enough. We tried to be self-insured, but it didn't work. Our group is too small.
That's what I mean, though. Each county is considered an individual group. It's not a collection of all the counties.
Right. Right, because we are not considered state. So we're kind of off our own. If we change how we do our health insurance, then it'll change the amount of what we pay each month.
Well, we're going through them, and they should determine if we're
Eligible.
in compliance, right?
Right.
They give the notices to everybody. But they're having a big meeting on the Affordable Care Act, and I don't know if it's in July or if we're supposed to, I think it's in July. And so someone from here needs to attend it to find out all the rules on it.
How many of the employees of the county participate?
25 to 26. But you have, in health insurance, yes, but you have to have, everybody has to have the option. That's your Affordable Care Act.
We do.
That you had to sign off on. If we gave you the paperwork, so you had to sign off and say, no, you weren't gonna be on it.
So you're just asking to go to this meeting?
Right, we have 40-some employees. We're right under the 50 with all the board members and everything else at this period right now. Well, no, and not just to go to the meeting, but are off the office to be appointed as the contact person on this stuff. They want contact people.
I don't read that in here.
I didn't give you all of it. I should have. I can email it to you all.
It don't matter. So they want a primary contact.
They want a primary contact.
Oh, well, I would recommend we appoint the auditor's office to be the primary contact for this, because they're the ones that do the payroll.
I would so move.
And we might be able to do it on a website. I don't know yet. But this one is a big deal. Because I called them and asked them, well, do we have to do it? And they say, well, it might be better if you did it. So that you knew what was going on.
They should keep it from being a big deal for us little counties.
Yeah, I wish they would. It's been a headache since we heard of
It's
it.
been moved that the auditor's office be appointed to be the primary contact for the Affordable Care Act, participation, compliance. Is there a second to the motion?
I'll second.
Seconded by Dale. Is there any discussion? Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Is Travis coming up here?
No.
Okay.
This was through Ron on the website.
Oh, Ron?
Yeah, I gotta start out with a general question, maybe just on the process. Like, as an example, I think the audit should be on the website. What's that? It is already?
No, it can be. That's not a big deal.
But I mean, the process, should anybody come up to you and say, Cindy, make this change, put it on the website? I mean, the commissioners don't have to meet on anything like that, do they?
No. In
So,
fact, I'm all for as much as we can get on there, because that's less we have to email and contact people. No?
No, we can't be letting anybody, any employee, anybody post anything on that county website. That will lead to apps, that it has to be okayed through this board,
Okay.
what goes on that website.
You're right. You're right.
okay, so,
Because there could be some bad stuff going on.
Yeah, there has to be a governing board for that, it has to be this board.
okay.
We can make certain items, the minutes always, once approved, go on there, but we cannot let anybody arbitrarily post to that board.
So I said, take a list of things that I'd like to see on there to a future commission meeting, and then we'll go over them one by one to see.
Yeah, and I would say if they're repeatable and consistent, then we can approve it for long-term, but if we just let anybody post to that website.
And be careful on what all, because I don't have a problem with the wages either, but it's gonna take somebody some time to type all that in. On the wages,
Okay,
okay?
well, yeah.
Because we have, like, from our busy time in, like, the auditor's office
Well, yeah.
is from, September through probably March, okay? And it take time, because we actually get a survey from the association too on wages. So I mean, in there's a lot of stuff going on, and to be able to get some of that stuff on there takes time.
Okay. Well,
Now, if it's something like the audit where I can do a PDF and put it on there, there's no problem, but I don't have a document
yeah.
to take for wages to put.
I'll go into another way of doing that later. Because there's an alternative way of doing it. I don't know if we have time right now. But anyway, yeah, like for the audit, I mean, if we want the audit on for the last 3 years, I just bring that as a list. And then these, all of these papers here, I would think could be on the internet site. And so I just recommend it and then we vote on whether we want to or not. I mean, it seems a pretty tedious task, but.
Well, it does, but I think.
It will be at first until you get it set up.
I think you have to guard against letting opinion be posted on that site.
Well,
It has to be actual
But-
motions of the board or functions of the government.
But I asked at the last meeting, if we don't have a county commissioner corner, can we put that county commissioner? Well, the answer was yes last time.
Well, no, you can put it on there, but
That's not the form to do it.
Okay, because I mean, I thought Cindy was gonna check into to see if it was legal.
Well, but it can't be used, for a form for individual. It needs to be based on policy.
Factual policy,
Yeah,
documentation.
yeah, policy, regulation, and everything that's straightforward, but no,
Okay,
I don't agree, I don't think it can be used for that.
okay. All right. I think I was twisted Rod. I mean, I had several other questions, but they would have to be. On the other ones? Well, one of them was, did you guys have a chance to see the Richland County website?
I didn't look at it.
Yeah, and the information that is on there where you can really get to the tax information. It turns out that's pretty easy to do, believe it or not. Because Kelly Hornstein, he's written the module, and the county owns it, where his software dumps that data from about 20 different tables. And then Richland County hired a company called iQuest to write up all the software. And they offered it to us. They said that there wouldn't be any charge if we wanted to use it. And so I called iQuest and they said it would be under $1,000 to utilize that. But what it amounts to is that Cindy and Connie wouldn't have to be writing reports and then putting the reports on there. What it would do every night, like for the property tax information, it takes it every day, it writes a report every night, and then the next day anyone can surf on the web and see just exactly, as I showed here, you can see the valuations for any parcel of land. In this particular example, you could look at a certain section, see the different parcels, see what they're valued at. I suppose it could be used by someone who is protesting their taxes. They could do a comparison to their neighbors and say, this is nuts. Especially in Cooperstown, I know some of the houses, the way they're appraised, I'd sure like to look them up and protest it. But even what you're saying, Cindy, on the payroll, that sort of thing you wouldn't have to type in. I mean, the software is there where that payroll can be printed out to a module and then it is automatically put on the internet. It takes the control away from Cindy and Connie. And it also means we would not have a password to your GovernSoft software. We don't need to get into that at all, or to access it or change it or anything. It's just that your software writes a report, and any report. An example would be maybe all of the checks written by Griggs County. That could be put on there and updated nightly.
Okay, now see, it can do that, but it cannot do the other one that you wanted by vendor or, okay, it can do it by vendor, but it can't do it for vendor for different years together.
Well, I mean, we can look into all of that, because it'll take the data from, the raw data from the table. If the vendor is on there, it could probably, Kelly's report might not be able to do it, but the new report, as long as the data is there, it could put it up there, as long as it's accessible. So I guess, one question was, I could easily proceed with this. It would probably be to take $1,000 out of the technology budget and do it. But I suppose, I don't even know if we want to do it, I guess is the first question. Because it is an awful lot of information. You can type in anybody's name and see where they live and what their property taxes are.
Do you think that would help us?
You
No,
like-
I meant because if people request it, then they could just go in there and do it, but it'll
Yeah.
take them a while to do it.
Well, I keep getting asked, and I keep telling people we're gonna put it on the web, I just don't
Okay,
know when.
yeah, this was,
Because that's been the plan all along, so,
Okay.
yeah,
So,
that's great. My phone calls and emails.
I don't know if we wanna make a decision on this today, but I think we should cover these one piece of one subject at a time. It's all, and I understand it's all public information, but I don't know that it's every stitch of information at the county needs to be, that we need to put time into making it available. My for instance, would be the expenses are in the paper every meeting. I don't know that we need to republish that, maybe. That's up to you guys, but
Well, the minutes are gonna be on there anyway,
the
so.
minutes will be out there anyway, so it's in one spot.
yeah, but like for the property tax information, it would be,
I agree that.
Yeah, it would be-
That's a no-brainer.
and there wouldn't be any real recurring expenses. Once it's set up, it's done, and it kind of takes it away from, well, like you say, you won't have all these emails and phone calls and lookups, so it should be a savings on a case like that. And I think you're right, it probably does have to be done on an individual basis, but that's a lot of work too. I guess that's what we do, that's what we're here for, I guess, is to evaluate every single individual basis. But I'll be happy to proceed with this property tax if that's, I don't know if you need a motion or what, but I'll be happy to get,
We certainly will.
okay? And it kind of brings up, I'm not sure exactly how Travis has his website set up, but I'll probably have, because it needs a SQL server on it. I talked to him about it.
He's downstairs.
Oh, was he? Okay. Well, I'll just keep working with Travis, and if any expenses come up, I'll just let you know, get them approved at a future meeting, I guess. In case our server, because I don't know where he's getting it hosted or anything, but so there could be expenses in addition to that 1,000. They wouldn't be much, but anyway, I'll proceed with putting the property tax information on, just like Richland County has it.
Well,
I'll make a motion that we authorize Ron to proceed along those lines.
thank you, John. It's been moved that the commission authorize Ron to move forward with making the property tax information available at the county website when it is launched in the next couple of weeks. Is there a second to the motion? I guess that doesn't need to be a motion.
I'll second the motion.
Seconded by Sean. Is there any discussion?
Did you start to say something, Dale?
I was just gonna ask if it's gonna be searchable by name or tract.
Oh, okay, yeah, it definitely would be, by parcel number, by section
I
number.
know Barnes County is by name and Cass County does tract number.
Yeah, they are, it's a trend, definitely.
Track number is hard to know.
Yeah.
It should be searchable by more than one. If it's in a SQL database, I'm sure there's more than one key field.
Yeah, and as long as, the GovernSoft software has been kept up to date, then it's all in there. But I know that GovernSoft software can put a lot of additional things, like all of the modifiers approved soils type. I don't think any of that is in the GovernSoft software. Oh, it is? Okay, well, oh, in that case, then we could have a lot more information too, so, okay, good.
Is there any further discussion? Is there any further discussion? Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll proceed to vote. John?
Aye.
Dale?
Aye.
Ron?
Aye.
Sean?
Aye.
Troy votes aye. Motion carries. Thank you, Ron.
One other question on that, what would be the next group of, that we put on the site after we've done with the taxes? What would be the next?
Well, I was thinking of just all of the checks that are written.
Yeah.
I would, in my personal opinion, minutes and audio minutes would. are-
Yeah, well, that's
in order
what-
of importance anyway, that
Okay.
would be something that I would like to see.
Yeah, but I mean, if the checks are on there right, you could look back like to 2011 and say, and search for all the checks written to Craft Architects. And then you could go to 2012, search for all the checks written to Craft Architects. I know you're saying that probably can't be done, but I'm
Right
convinced.
now, it can't.
I'm
If he
convinced.
says it can be done, that would be great, because
On
we've
that
always
government,
wanted
on that
that.
government software, it can be done.
I'm convinced it can be
Oh,
done.
yeah, I know it can be done.
We've never been offered it.
I
It would have
know.
saved us a lot of time.
Yeah,
No, when we've seen the manual on it, it can be done.
I'm really very confident.
Yeah.
I can work with him and get it.
Okay.
Yeah, that can be done.
We'll learn as we go on that,
Yeah.
on that project.
Yep.
Okay. Let's go to our next scheduled guest, Rod Olson, Clerk of Courts.
If you remember, I've been up a few months ago, Scott Olson, the court administrator for our unit. I asked Sally Haleva, our state court administrator, to come today, and also Scott Johnson, our assistant state court administrator. Sally probably will answer your questions better than I can, so.
Mind if I take a chair?
No, you sure can.
All right. Just give me a minute, I'll just sign in and then you go ahead and ask whatever questions you have.
You're educating a pretty fresh group here. You knew that, didn't you?
So,
Can you take a 5-minute recess?
Oh,
I need to check one piece of information here.
I'll second the move to take a 5-minute
Did
recess.
you put that in form of motion, Don?
I'd like to make a motion to take a 5-minute recess.
Which I subsequently
Second
second.
by Ron. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign.
sorry.
Sorry about that.
no problem at all.
Good to have
I
you
am
guys.
going to take this opportunity to run to the restroom.
Yeah.
Oh, you guys are killing me with that water.
Go ahead. Go ahead. Help yourself. Oh, the one. There's one that had the wrong name on it, dear. To the hotel. So we'll have to void it and rewrite it. I'm sorry. Yeah. It was made to Great International Hotel Sub Grant Hotel.
Okay.
Okay?
Isn't it funny how computers dominate our whole world now? Listening
And
here,
it's like, it makes people want information more, and you just don't have it. It's like,
yeah, it feeds the demand for information, that's for sure.
Looking at your grocery store and computers go down, you can't get anything.
Yeah, that's right,
You have to steal it if you need it in essential.
no,
My son was in Enderlin, he wanted to use his debit card, and the network was down in the city of Enderlin one night. So he had to drive over to Lisbon to buy some groceries.
where does your son live?
He lives in Alexandria, but he works for Canadian Pacific Railroad. They were working
Oh,
in Enderlin,
okay.
so they stayed there for 4 days. So he'd buy some groceries, and he didn't have any cash, but he couldn't use his debit card in the whole town because their network was down.
Jeez, that's a good diet plan.
Yeah, they had to go over to Lisbon.
And then I've been over in England, we go over there, Melody Tech and stuff, but over there you give them our regular credit card with a little magnetic thing on it. Oh, sorry, you can't use it in this machine because they got that chip in it.
Oh, they have chips.
They're more
So
advanced than us.
then they gotta take it behind there and punch and stuff.
Yeah.
What are you doing over there? Just visiting?
Oh, over there, I've been over there quite a few different times. My wife and I, we Melody Tech a lot, Melody Techers, and
Yeah.
find Roman coins, copper coins. and-
That's cool.
It's been a lot of fun.
I bet.
Many neat friends that do the same thing all the time.
You're going to like a treasure hunt, is it?
Oh, yeah, they put us on farmland just like this, you know, our farmland out here. There's been villages out there and markets out there, all their 2,000 years of occupation, you know, here we've got maybe 200,
Yeah.
300,
I was just
200.
reading about some farmer in England who was plowing up a field that he normally plows. I don't know, what's got a little deeper or something. He uncovered this whole, like a little treasure chest full of all these
A
old
clay pot,
Roman
I think
things.
they're
in.
usually, clay pot like
Yeah, and it's
It's
full of coins and a rusting sword and a few other things.
We find a lot of stuff over there, 300 AD, Roman coins, because Roman had occupation for 500 years, and denaries, and Celtic coins, gold coins that they have, that's BC, a lot of that stuff.
Then what do you do with them? Can you sell them or
Well,
you give them to the
I
museum?
had found a Celtic stater, a gold stater, and other guys had found after me. I was the first person to find it on this property. After me, these guys really looked hard for it, and they ended up with 5 of them. Well, then it goes into a treasure act, and then the museums have a right to buy that.
Right.
But then they pay you for it.
Oh, they do?
The one that I found was worth $1,000, and the landowner got 500, and I got 500.
Wow.
But if it would have only been the one found there, then I mean,
Be worth more?
no,
No?
I would have got to keep it.
Oh, so you need one.
Two or three, or they say the like item, all the rest of them were from the same tribe.
Wow.
But,
Interesting.
Cool.
it's a lot of fun. When you go over there and start to detect, they say don't throw anything away because you have no idea what
I
you're
don't know
doing.
what you're looking at.
Yeah.
It's a lot of fun.
That's neat. It's kind of like, you know, in the United States, it used to be if you found the dinosaur fossils, you could keep them and sell them, but now a lot of states are going to where the state automatically owns it. So
Yeah.
I know South Dakota did
Any
that.
vertebrate fossil. Well, if it's on private land, you still can.
You can still keep
The
it.
check, Christie Collins.
But there's so many different things they'll tell
Is
you.
it the same thing?
It's gotta be at least 30%
No,
there.
it's
It's gotta
way
be
too
certain
different.
condition.
She went in and
So then
changed the
they get
vendor.
you all
No.
wound up and then they say,
But they
oh,
said
sorry,
they'd
it's
take
worth much, this is all I do.
Yeah.
I don't know if they had a name change, I don't
So
know.
you get a lot more history out of it. And
Oh, yeah.
we've got, this mosasaur, myself and my buddy Mike Hanson, an electrician, Dennis always. We found a mosasaur, you know, that's in the main heritage center in Bismarck. You walk in there, well, the old one, it's changed, they moved it. You walk into that part that's suspended to the ceiling, the mosasaur. And we found that right out here.
Okay.
It was 65% there,
Okay.
70 million years old.
Wow.
You know, a lot of-
Oh, the dinosaur?
Yeah, it's a mosasaur.
Did I
It's not a
get it right?
dinosaur because this is all underwater here.
Yeah.
It's a mosasaur, these are all in the ocean.
Fish.
Well,
Not
it's like a
fish,
great big alligator, 23 foot long.
Right on this drive.
And then there's another one that they found up by Larmor up there. That one's 50 foot long. That's a big one.
Oh, I was afraid that
We
was.
found that quite a few years ago.
I'll
People were always on the
make sure I got that.
side. Finally figured
But
out they weren't gonna get anything out of here.
Yeah.
So they must have given it to the state.
Yeah.
Sure. That's okay. I'll give you a call in a while.
That's when you think you know
Okay.
things, right?
Oh, I tell you,
just can't imagine when you work in something that old, it's the reverence for the past.
Unbelievable.
No, but
That's my favorite.
Call the meeting back to order, Davis County Commission. Okay, Sally, now already.
Okay, well, since you're kind of new to this, I'll start, and if you have heard all this stuff before, just tell me to skip. But I think what I'll do is I'll start with a little bit of the history of how we came to be today with the county clerks, some of them being state employed and some not being state employed. But basically, if we jump back to about 1981, the court system started, the state court system started taking over county functions for county court. So in 1981, you have the state taking over payment for all judge salaries. They then went on to take over indigent defense payments for the county and juvenile services the next year. So then they took over paying for all of your juvenile court services. Then you jump ahead to 1991 where they started consolidating all of the county judges into district court judges. That process was passed in 91, didn't go into effect till 95 because in the meantime we had to go from 53 judges statewide down to 42. So we were getting rid of some of them at the same time. All of those things through that time, the state was picking up all the costs, still letting all of the fine money go to the counties. So the county was still bringing whatever limited revenue you had coming in. And then finally, the last change on this came in 95. They agreed that the state would take over the clerks of court. That went into effect in 2001. But because the clerks of court themselves were, heavily divided about whether they wanted to be state employees, we ended up with this compromise. And so the compromise basically is what we have still in place today. If you had 5 or more clerks of court need, then those clerks had to become state employees.
5?
5 or more. So then you have to be state employees.
Yeah.
If you had more than a 1 need, you can opt to go in and become a state employee. But we've only had so far, 1 county has opted in. This coming year, 2 more counties have said they're going to opt in. So we're kind of at work. Most of our clerks are still contract clerks. Those contract clerks, technically, we did have this actually in effect for a couple of years where the county can just say, the heck with it, we're paying for it all on our own. We don't want any state money. For a long time, we had 2 counties that did that. They've now gone to accepting a contract. But what our contract does, it reimburses for clerk need. And the clerk need is based on this weighted, it's a time and motion study that we do. So what we do is, we just recently updated in 2012. We had somebody come in and we study what the clerks do and how they do it and how much time it takes on average. And then every year we look at, these types of cases should take this much time, so this is what your need is. And then we reimburse the county the number of hours that we need.
Yep.
Based on that. And then there's a 10% overhead for expenses, and then we pay the benefits like retirement insurance. We pay the county a percentage of that based on what the state cost would be if they were state employees.
Right.
So that's where we're at with that.
And the conundrum that we find ourselves in is we are allowed 0.46 or 0.48 FTE, and we have 1.25 FTEs in the department. So either we're overstaffed or the state formula isn't accurate, and we aren't here every day, so we don't know which is the case. But we're trying to sort this out.
Yep, that's it. That's in a nutshell, is we're trying to determine just that, whether we're overstaffed, and if so, then we need to cut the budget accordingly. Because as the agreement states, Griggs County is no longer responsible for any clerk of court services. So for us to pay a wage over and above what you've deemed acceptable for clerk of court services is not our responsibility.
Right.
Yeah. So that's where we stand. Our clerk of court, Kelly, says that the 0.48 isn't adequate to provide the services that she says are needed to be provided. It's my opinion that should be told, that she should be expressing those to the state, because Griggs County is not responsible for the clerk of court services. And as it says in the Century Code, if Griggs County does not provide clerk of court services, the state will step in and provide them.
Right, we'll move it to a different county.
Yep.
Somebody over there.
Right.
Yeah.
So Kelly's contention is that you have misrepresented the need here. The 0.48 doesn't do it. And I'm fine with however it goes, but if 0.48 is the need, then we need to cut budgets accordingly, because right now we have 1.4 employees in that position.
And I'm just trying to remember, yours is a combined office, right?
It is.
It's recorder, clerk, so they have to be separate. We only measure what the clerk's need is. We don't, we discount anything they do for a recorder. We don't.
Understood.
So so when we say 0.48, that doesn't, I don't think probably doesn't, it's not equivalent to, a person, because that person's doing other county work. But what we've done, right? I mean, if they're the recorder and the clerk, they're obviously doing recorder work as for the county. and clerk work for the state.
But if they
There's a
are,
deputy on both sides.
there's a deputy on both sides of it. So theoretically, it just happened to fall, .48 is half time for the recorder, half time for the clerk of court. We're not saying that we're going to determine what the recorder side of it is. We know that Kelly can put forward half her time to the recorder's position, because that's how it's set up. We'll take care of the recorder, the additional recorder staff. What we're saying is, she's saying that the half time that she's devoted to the clerk of court isn't enough, and that Griggs County right now is employing a 4/5 position to take up that slack. In essence, we're paying for services that the state should be paying for. And either the state has to set up and say, yes, we were wrong, you are actually, should be at a 1.4, or you can say you're at 0.48 and we will act accordingly and eliminate that position. And that's as simple as that.
Yeah, and she's at a .48. We just ran this.
Okay.
We just updated it and ran it, and
Is there
What else I can say?
opportunity for error? I mean, is it the input to that comes from,
the input
The
comes
county?
from all 53 county clerks counting their time and entering it, and then it's averaged over the 53 clerks and their data that they enter. We average it all out, and then we look at it. Some of it, we went back and we eyeballed it and said with the clerks, because we had a commission of clerks looking at it saying, this seems a little bit high when you average it, this seems a little bit low. We did a little minor adjustments on it, but it's,
It is skewed towards the bigger counties because with repetition, as you handle a task over and over and over again, you get to do it faster. So you're evaluating, let's say it takes a marriage certificate should take 5 minutes in Cass County because they do it over and over again. It takes 15 minutes here because they're not used to it. We have to abide by the Cass County, the average of the whole state. So
right, what you would, but see what happens here, since 42 of the people reporting are smaller counties.
Yep, I know.
So it's actually, if we look at it, it's probably skewed a little bit more the other way, that it's probably taking, we account for a little more time than what we would maybe have to.
So your estimation then is the 0.48 is an accurate reflection of what are
think
needed
it's
for the state
inaccurate
for the state to have clerk of court services.
For what it takes to process the cases filed. Now, most counties have more than what we pay for, and part of it is because the county itself wants to make sure that there's somebody there, answering phones, doing other things, covering for other office, but almost every county does have more, and it's your choice.
Wait a minute now.
You run the county you want.
Wait a minute now. For a branch of government that is supposed to abide and uphold the law, you can't bend it in your favor. It says flat out here, that when we sign that paperwork, you're responsible for it. All of it. Not
We're responsible for what we say we are.
for the clerk of court service. You want me to read it to you? I mean, it's
No,
right
I
here.
got it right here too.
But we keep, when you come with that argument that because other counties are providing this
Well, you don't
service
have
free
to.
of charge,
You don't have to.
that's what we're trying to
Our
get
office
at.
only has to be open half
That's
days.
.48, and you have to.
But it is open because that's the reason we have it split between the recorder and,
Right, and she's actually a recorder and just ex officio the clerk.
yeah, that's right, that's
So
correct.
she's actually, there as the recorder, so.
Yeah, and she's an elected recorder, ex officio, the clerk, that's right. But
Right.
we're trying to clarify, we're not saying we have to, we're trying to
No,
clarify
and
the
I-
position here.
I know, I get it, I get it, and it's really, honestly, it's what service you wanna provide as far as, do you wanna make sure that there's extra people? I mean, and this is up to you guys, I mean, it's
We
not up to
should quit
me.
saying that, it is not our responsibility, it's flat out the state's
I'm not
responsibility.
saying it's your responsibility, I'm saying it's your desire, if it's your desire to do that.
No, it is not, it is not. It is the states, they have taken that stance, and in fact, if we don't perform, the state will step in and do the job for us. We could decide to do nothing, and the state, by statute, will step in and take care of all the clerk of court services. So, it's gotta be in black and white, it is in black and white, let's treat it that way. And we shouldn't be expected to contribute something that we're not mandated to do, and that you are, the state is mandated to do. So is there, we asked Kelly, can we protest the allotted time? Can we redo this?
Well, how would we review it? I mean, here's the thing. We've got our study, our time and motion study. I mean, that's the best study we can do.
Okay.
So to try to say, oh, well, Griggs County, it doesn't fit for them, well, it has to fit for all 53 counties. I can't carve out an exception.
Here's-
You understand that too.
I understand.
Going back to what you said, that most of the other counties employ more people than what the state allots for, wouldn't you back test your time and motion study against the actual labor requirements and say, this isn't exactly working on the way it's supposed to? I mean, you know what I mean?
Yeah, well, I know what you mean. I mean, I don't know why the counties hire more people than what the study says. I mean, why, I do know sometimes they hire them, and I just pick out Slope County, right? They have a need of, what do they need here? 0.2 need to keep a full-time person there to do clerk work, but when she's not doing clerk work, she's doing backup to somebody else, you know, and they want a body there all the time, though. But that's a choice they make.
So it's a want, not a need.
Right, so it's, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I appreciate your position in this thing too, but we're just trying to get our head around it. Because we have other bodies in the courthouse, but I don't think we are in a position where we need to employ somebody just so the light gets turned on.
But it will be turned on because it is a split position, so
I know.
if she's gonna
That's
be
what I said,
there,
we don't need a
you know, she won't work till noon as a clerk of court, and then it'll be split. But right now, we're hiring again, a 4/5 position. And
But the danger is, we say, okay, 0.48 is 0.48, and then in fact, it can't get done in that amount of time.
Right, well,
Then we're in violation and you guys take it and move it to Foster County.
well, I don't know that, I've never heard that it's not getting done in 0.48. I mean,
Yeah, no, we're not in violation.
heard any
No.
issue.
No,
And, you know,
I'm
we
saying-
measure it, we measure it every year.
Yeah.
Or, you know, make an adjustment.
I know.
Because we run on a 2-year budget, we make the budget changes every 2 years, but.
What I'm saying is we make a change and that change causes an issue with the workflow to the point where we're not performing to your standards, then you would take that clerk of court service and move it someplace else.
Well, we would definitely work with it first to find out what the problem is.
Meanwhile, we've done what you've asked us to do, we've provided a half employee.
Right, I mean, we would definitely be looking at why it won't work here, right? I mean, because if we're looking at it and we're doing the same yardstick from county to county and it's working in 40 counties, but you get here and it's not working, then we have to start looking at what is the issue here.
Yeah.
Because sometimes, you know, there are different issues, and I'm, you know, quite frank with you. I mean, it's, you know, but sometimes other things that impact it that maybe we didn't know about, or something has changed, so it's not like we're gonna say, oh, well, this month the clerk didn't get her work done, so next month everything's gonna be filed in Devil's Lake. Right, and we're just not gonna do that, so.
But one clarification, Troy, she's not our employee.
She is your employee.
No, she's not. No, she's not. We provide the payroll services. She is your employee. Yes, she is. She is your employee. You're responsible for the clerk of court. You're responsible for the judicial branch, and she is your employee.
No.
She acts under your instruction, and if she doesn't act, you're instructed to step in and take control of it. She's not our employee.
Well,
The only reason
yours.
we provide payroll services, and that's it.
Well, we have a contract with the county to supply the services. She's
Yeah.
not our employee. She's
Yes.
not under our workers' comp. She's not under any.
She's your
Any legal
employee.
sense of the word, she's not our employee.
Okay.
Well, we're arguing semantics here.
Well,
Yeah.
you can't argue this, it's a fact, one way or
Right,
the other, and
it's
I
a
don't know the
fact.
answer, so.
No. The fact is, if we choose not to provide any clerk of court services, the statute says that they have to step in and provide them.
Then we-
That will settle the argument of whose employee it is.
Well, but we won't have a contract with the state at that point, right now we do.
Right. Right, right now.
I think the contract with the state is a reimbursement contract.
Mhm, it is, it's
And then-
reimburse you
and
for
the
partial.
employee is on our payroll,
That's right, we provide payable services.
so.
So I mean, that tells, if we can't request that a number be amended, we'll just have to adjust our budgets accordingly, and that's what we're trying to get after.
Right, yeah.
I mean, if that's the number, that's the number.
Right, and I can't give you any other number, and
Yeah.
I can't make
Okay.
an exception. And had we, not just updated the study, I might say, well, we would look into the study, but we just, spent a lot of money updating our study, so.
That covers everything that happens in the
It
clerk's
covers,
office.
it does, and I maybe should have made copies, but I did, bring I do have the study here and I can leave it, but it actually goes through, all of the things that they do specifically related to cases, and then all of the things they do that we call non-case related, which would be like waiting on the counter, answering telephones, all of those types of things.
So
Covers
all
both
that
of
time
those.
is included in the study.
Mhm, all of that's included.
Okay,
I can leave you this copy if you'd like it.
Ron and I, we got a copy of that, I think.
I think so.
It includes, covers vacation too, besides.
Because we take vacation and sick leave and holidays and weekends off the time available.
Okay.
So,
Mm-hmm. Well, I haven't-
That was another question I had, because the impression I got was everything it wasn't all inclusive of all the activities that occur in the office, and that's apparently not the case.
right.
Okay,
And even to the point that in the county section of the Century Code, the clerk of court has been removed, has been repealed from the county portion of the Century Code, and it has been put into the judicial portion of the Century Code.
That's under 27.
Yep.
The clerk funding part is under 27.
And that was a contention all along, that it's not our responsibility.
so we need to take that under consideration
Yep.
in the budgeting process. That was our whole question.
That was our question.
Yeah, no, I thought that was probably the question.
Does anybody else have any? Sean, Ron, Dale, you guys have any questions?
Clarified it.
You're happy?
Well, I'm not, I mean, if it is taken over by the state, then do we still pay the same amount, but we pay it through the state, or how does, I mean, that's not just a savings, right?
I don't know.
We're not paying anything
Right.
more on.
So let me,
But I mean, if we said we're gonna go to zero,
you said you were going to
Then we
go
wouldn't
to
have a
zero?
contract with them, and it would be provided.
Well,
I
It's
mean,
provided either way.
but why wouldn't we do that and save the county money?
That is kind of, that was a question that because it states in here, if they were not providing adequate clerk of court services, that the state will step in and take care of those services without mention to cost.
Yeah.
So that's a very valid question, and I don't know what the answer for that is.
Well, in my mind, the answer is it's probably going to be someplace else if it does happen, so it's in our best interest to keep it local if we can, if the cost is the same.
And
to the
it just-
taxpayer.
But it might not be the cost, it might not be the same.
We might have to make it the same.
Right. Just a little clarification. I mean, when this whole thing came up, and again, we're going back in time, it was the smaller counties that did not want to go with state funding because they concluded, and probably rightly so, since at that point we did have a plan to consolidate court services, that they did not want their counties included because they were afraid that the county courts would be shut down. And so when you look at the whole statute, it talks about the intent is to have court services in every county and to make sure that people were still having access to it.
I think what Ron's talking about is in subsection 6, which is where we're under right now as far as contract, and it gets down to the last paragraph, or the last sentence in there. It says, if a county fails to fulfill the terms of an agreement or is unable to provide clerk of district court services consistent with standards and procedures established by the Supreme Court, the Supreme Court shall provide those services in any manner it deems appropriate.
I think it would be debatable whether we would provide it without billing back the county.
That you've never ran across.
But we've never run across this, and I'm not a lawyer, so I
Well,
I
I'm not
won't go
either.
down that route, but I do see in subsection 5 that, you know, we're still talking about reimbursing the county, not necessarily taking over the,
Well, but it specifically talks about breaking the contract. If we break the contract, the state will step in. So, I mean, not that
that's
we're
right.
going to
I
do
mean, it's not
that.
that we're gonna say to people in Griggs County, well, I'm sorry, but you're not gonna be able to go to court this month because nobody's gonna agree on who's gonna pay.
Well, that would be,
That would not
that would be
happen.
blackmail if we said that.
That wouldn't happen.
I have to imagine it would. It'd be hard to explain it. So I guess as far as my questions, that's answered. I wasn't either way, whichever way it went, we just had to clarify it. And we tried to clarify
You guys
with
have to make
all
a
this mess, but we
decision
kept
on
getting the same answer over and over again, so now it's been clarified.
I hope I was of some help.
Nope.
Thanks for coming.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, wait a minute, I don't want to take all of your papers because I have plenty of papers of my own.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you guys for making the trip up here.
Thanks.
Okay, thanks again.
You ready for me?
Heck, yeah.
All right.
I'm gonna boost it up. I can't go higher. It's a ways that we're wasting that.
Since you guys want to adjourn, do this and then back, how's that? Roll-wise.
Security numbers.
That might be a good idea.
Because I think technically it's supposed to be sent meeting as a lead board.
Not gonna help.
Adjourn the meeting of the, oh, we need a motion to adjourn.
I move to adjourn.
Ron moves to, we don't want to adjourn, no, we want
Recess. Recess.
How
for the weed board meeting.
Oh,
Is there a second to the motion?
I'll second the motion.
Second by Sean, is there any discussion? Any discussion? Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, please vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Meeting in recess. I'd like to reconvene the meeting of the Griggs County Weed Board.
You want to open the meeting for You're not reading
No, I said, yeah.
Okay.
Call the meeting to order.
so we probably shut it down last night.
Yeah. So we gotta say the pledge first thing.
No.
When we met last time, we did not have any bids in for control of noxious weeds on the county right-of-ways. And since that time, we've re-advertised and we did get 2 bids in. And Cindy, you have the one sealed bid, right? Or you gave?
He's got it both there. He
Okay,
just
he's got
opened
it.
one.
Okay.
It wasn't sealed.
No, it wasn't sealed.
He didn't seal it, I don't think, but he was actually supposed to. What it amounts to is we have one bid from a gentleman over who works out of Sharon for $125 an hour. And Troy, you can probably read it. I don't have a copy of that one, but
Chris Jermstead?
that is the other one from
She
DVI.
has that one. She doesn't have that one.
Yep, I don't have that one there from the guy from Sharon.
This is from Mandan.
Or Mandan, but he works out of Sharon, he says, so. And he has done work for Steele County in the past.
They like them?
I'm gonna refrain from saying anything. They've had a few issues, they said, with just reporting, the chemical reporting, and then keeping track of like where he sprayed. So record keeping was kind of an issue. The job he did wasn't bad at all. It's just they had some trouble with getting the records kept.
And that's important to us because we have to report this stuff to the state.
Our bid to do roadside spot spraying on the designated roads you require will be $125 an hour. This includes labor, spray, truck, and water. Time will begin when we enter Griggs County. Chemical will be a separate charge. Contradicting himself there. Based on how much we use. The solution we spray is at $10 10 gallons per acre rate. Tordon, 1 pint per acre. 2,4-D, 2 pints per acre. Overdrive, 2 ounces per acre. Crop oil, 1 quart per 100 gallons of solution. The cost per gallon of solution is under $2 per gallon. We are located a couple miles east of Griggs County, rural Sharon. Certified applicators Dwayne Safer and Stan Amundsen.
Stan is the one that lives in Sharon, as I understand it.
Were the previous bids for all or per mile?
Per hour. Right away, we used to do per hour, and then they would charge us for their chemical on top of it. And they were, I believe, last year, about $125 an hour, plus chemical.
The other firm is out of Albert Lee, Minnesota, and they would be charging $145 per hour, and that includes travel time. Chemical would be $25 per acre based on 50 gallons per acre. Noxious weed spot spray. 50 gallons per acre of water?
I'm not sure.
No,
I asked for clarification on this and I never got
I would
it from them.
say, I would say that it's probably mixed at 5 gallons per acre. That would mean they're doing 10 acres per mile.
Oh, so you think that's 50 gallons per mile?
Yeah, 50 gallons of solution, mixed solution, I would say. I would think.
Yeah, that sounds right.
But when you spray it over the hand sprayer, it probably does get put on at 50 gallons per acre.
Well, and I think they have like small ATV
Yeah.
It's a
type things from what I understand, or small pickup sprayers, so.
If a little bit's good, a whole bunch is good.
That's all with whiskey.
And right now, we're actually probably too far behind the ball to get much going for,
Yeah.
I mean, it's just gonna set it back. It's not gonna kill anything right now. We're gonna have to hit it hard in the fall. So whatever we've been now, there probably won't be much to control. Guess guys will be haying the ditches. Maybe that'll help us control the spurge a little bit, but not that you want to hay spurge, but you know, it's in there. It is what it is, I guess, right now. But
Why don't we make it a county function?
you mean have the county department for spraying?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Barnes County has that. Several counties have that. It's just the expense of it. They didn't want, once you get into having to hire somebody full time and give them benefits for the summer. I mean, you're going to have to hire someone essentially for the position.
I wasn't thinking about that way. I was just thinking about using a county employee and certifying them. We've got the four-wheelers, and doesn't take much to put a tank on it, and we've got the licensed people. They're licensed.
But I am not allowed to do it from NDSU because that's a liability. That's why I'm called the weed biologist and not the weed officer. State employee, we're not allowed.
Okay, but I mean, it doesn't
get-
take much to get certified, and
No,
a county employee being certified is different than a commercial applicator.
Yep.
And then we already have those people on staff.
You're talking about having our own weed sprayers?
Mm-hmm.
Put a boom on the gravel trucks.
Yeah,
We could
well,
rename it the County Road and Ditch Department.
road department too.
Well, of course.
But that's their busy season to do that.
There are counties that
Lots of
do
them do it.
utilize, like Nelson County does something similar to that with their county.
We've got the tractors, we've got all the equipment necessary to do that, and we certainly have the expertise, and I don't know why we don't do it. We have a lot better handle on what's happening.
That's an option we can look into. Do you want
Does
to
the
look
road
into that?
department generate the maps where the weeds are, or do they just kind of drive along?
No,
There's some.
I do some of that, and I also
Spray
have
anything
people
yellow.
where it's yellow, I guess. No, but I do some of it, and then the roads guys keep me informed of where they see it, and I know there's some spots right now that I can just think of that, we've got to get control of, but the state is responsible for the state's road right-of-ways, and the townships are responsible for their own, so we just cover the county. That's the way we've been doing it for I don't know how many years, Cindy.
Yeah, we've been doing it forever, so I know. But the only problem is when we had our own employees, we hired them part-time. And we did have a lawsuit the one time, and I think that's when we quit spraying. They went out and sprayed when it was windy, and
Well, I mean, that's just a matter of training, and we're paying for that anyway. The $125 an hour is reflective of the cost of insurance and the cost of litigation and everything else. I always thought we should have there should be a 200-gallon tank mounted on the road graders. And you're right there, you got a wand, and you just spray it out the window when you drive by it. I mean, that makes always what I thought should have been done.
Of course, when they drive by, it might be a 40-mile-an-hour wind, but no.
Well, even done correctly, that's okay. You know. But I think it should be an in-house duty rather than going through this.
So before you guys review and approve these bids, do you want to have Jill and Wayne put their heads together?
I think I know Wayne's answer to it because I've talked to him before, and their guys aren't trained in it. It doesn't mean they can't be trained in it and take the certification for commercial pesticide applicator.
Well, for this season, it probably won't hurt, but sure it can be considered for next year.
Mm-hmm.
How many hours were involved in spraying the roads last year?
Not a lot because right away didn't have the time to get it done. You know,
But how many miles of county road are there?
That's a Wayne question. I'm not
Yeah.
sure, but I don't know if I have it written down.
What do you mean? You mean we have to ask permission to see if Wayne wants to do it? I don't think that's the way this works.
No, I didn't say that. I said you need to talk to Wayne. That's a Wayne question as to, no, it's, I mean, but that would be, fine with me, because then you could take me off as weed biologist and put it on the town. I mean, that's the way it is in Nelson County.
No, you'd still be the weed biologist.
Well, you can give that to him too, though, if you want. That's the way it is in Nelson County.
I mean, I think there would just be a lot better lines of communication if you were the one that then was the weed biologist, and then because you're going to be the one certifying these people, you could act in the supervisory role. Even if you weren't spraying it, you could act, and
Keep track of,
right.
Yeah, if you can find a way to work it that way, it probably would be more convenient, obviously, to talk to these people. Right away, it was just it was very convenient with right away. I think that's probably why they went like that, because they were right here, local company, and they did a real good job. But like I said, they're so busy now, they're having trouble just keeping up with their right-of-ways on the railroad. So they just couldn't, and they're not doing Steele counties this year. In fact, I'm not sure what Steele County's doing for theirs this year. They turned it, I think they dropped it, yeah.
They didn't do Steele counties last year either.
No.
Yeah.
Kind of a sketchy rig in the ditch on the Laverne Highway. It surely wasn't right of ways.
Well, I hope that's not the one at Ben ours. But yeah, we certainly could look at that.
Because we've got the four-wheelers, we've got the tractors, there's water tanks, there's everything we need.
All the equipment just needs somebody certified.
And the certification is a matter of half a day. I mean,
A winter afternoon.
It's an open book test. I mean,
Well, they'd probably have to take commercial, so it might take them a little longer because they'd have to take commercial and then the egg test. But I mean, depends on how fast of a tester they are. Some it takes a little longer, but.
And we have an employee in the road department that used to work for Right Away.
probably do.
Oh yeah, we do now.
Kenny
Yeah,
Sandvik.
so we probably have somebody that's.
He's probably
able to be
certified already.
Certified already and able to be renewed. I'd like to make a motion that Jill continues this process and talks to Wayne and checks on certification and what would it take to do this.
Been moved that
What it would take to set this process forward, not taking into account cooperation. We don't, it's gotta be, do you wanna do it? It's gotta be, here's what we're gonna do it, let's get it done.
that doesn't need to be in motion, I don't think.
Well, I mean, it needs to be instructed to Jill, because we can't go there and then have them say, no, it can't be done, because we know it can be done.
How are we gonna
Probably,
move?
it needs to be part of the motion.
It, I mean, it can be a discussion, but with the end goal being that it's gonna be done, and we'll take steps to make sure that gets done.
Is it the idea to have this take place for this season, or are we gonna
Well,
take
in
a
the fall, we could certainly,
I would say, probably the middle of September is when we're gonna really have to be hitting the surge
Yeah.
again, somewhere in September there, because that's when we'll have our best kill.
How about if you make it discussion for this year, because if they're really busy and have a lot to do, why don't you make it for next year?
and then they, you know, we might have to offer a little bit for the training for the certification. There might be a monetary, you know, price per hour that when they're getting certified every year, but I don't think there's any need to make it for next year. I think we can go ahead and get it in, get the process started.
Cindy, insurance, can you get that in
We'll have to
place?
get an
Okay.
increase in insurance on that.
And you know, Riggs County used to do it. I mean, that was Archie Marson.
It'll be a pickup.
Yeah.
We got a motion on the table. Is there a second to the motion before we do much more discussion?
I'll move the second.
Seconded by Sean. Okay, now we can.
Okay. We did have, there was an accident out in a county out west here, just like, I think 2 or 3 weeks ago, where their county employee was out spraying their weed control officer and he died. He rolled his four-wheeler. And so that's just something to think about. So, but.
I know, but they can roll a gravel truck too.
Oh yeah, they can roll a gravel truck. And I don't think he was spraying the right of ways. He was actually spraying in like county-owned land, so hilly terrain.
We don't have any, do we?
No, we have one parcel that's in city commission.
Yeah.
We probably still have that sprayer. That's probably still sitting around somewhere.
Road.
Fargo sprayer.
Down road department.
Yeah.
Is there?
If they didn't take it apart, I don't know.
Looks like they have everything since the 50s over there.
I'm sure it's still.
Wouldn't you put it together a
No, it
boomless
was
unit?
since the 90s.
Wouldn't you put together a boomless unit for doing that?
We do have cost share dollars available through the technical agreement with the state of North Dakota that we can get up to $400 reimbursed. It's a 75-25, county pays 25 and the state pays 75 for equipment. And we have $4,000 we can use this biennium, so we have to use it by June 30th of next year.
There you go.
So there's where you could get.
They used to just have that back of the pickup, didn't they? And they stood with the long hose and shot it out.
There was a seat back there, and they sat back and shot out one
It was
person's
just like a
over.
turd
It was, no, it was a heck of a big hose that they had. I mean,
Yep.
it was been broadcast big.
But the four-wheeler worked fine. I mean, just pick up the tank and then one person drive with a four-wheeler and spray it.
filling it as you go.
There might be a few different rules on the chemicals right now since in the 90s too.
Not much, just throw 2,4-D and do it on.
Mm-hmm.
I still have a picture.
Starting to
in my
use
drawer where we got
overdrive, some of
stuck.
them, but, yeah.
Is there any further discussion? Is there any discussion? Is there any discussion? See none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
What about spring? Any of these two for the spring?
Just, you're gonna leave the bids, right? Yeah, did we have a motion on bids though? I don't know if we even had
I
a
don't
motion on,
think
we
we
just had discussion, but. So you just tell the bidders that we're going, that we're not accepting their bid and we're going,
In-house.
moving toward the county.
In-house.
In-house, okay. The only other thing for weed board that I have is Cindy and I have been kind of talking with the state. We had a few landowners upset about the state highways leaf spurge issues.
Heard about that.
Really bad west of town here at the light. And they went to DOT because we said state highway, DOT's responsibility, and DOT and Grand Forks told them it was the county's responsibility to take care of it. And Cindy, I think you clarified that with the state last week, right?
Yeah.
She called me.
Yeah, okay.
They own the land. How can we be responsible for their
I know, I
property?
think it's just
And then the
past
state
the buck.
highway wanted to have us spray their right of ways then, I says, no. because we just become a
We have to
third
do our
party.
own, we have enough of
Yeah.
our own to get done. We can't get our own done all of this.
And there's no way we're gonna become a third party again, because if they decide not to pay us, then we're just screwed.
But I know there's a lot of issues there too, because that's a lot of the county problems start there too, because you have a state highway not getting controlled, it starts moving into the county. As soon as you turn the road, it's on the county road, so, I mean, we're gonna have issues as long as they continue not to control the roads. So I don't know if the county wants to, I suppose the weed board could technically send a letter to the state saying we have had a, we've had
I asked Larry, he's supposed to send a complaint to
to
them.
us or to them.
And he's going to forward that same complaint to us so that it follows the trail, and then they have so long to respond to him.
Yeah, because it would just be, the only responsibility we have as a weed board, as I understand it, is to forward the complaint up to the state, correct?
No, I think.
Or we don't even have to forward the complaint.
You treat it just like you would a landowner that wasn't controlling his
That's what
weeds.
we
You
do
would
with
go
them,
in
we
and
send them
spray
a-
it and send them a bill, yeah. After the initial,
Could we do that with the state? I don't know.
We'll see, because a lot of times when you do state right of ways, it used to be such a pain. When we put up signs on their right of ways, we have to do it however way they tell us to do it.
no, but I mean, the noxious weed laws in the county state that if there's a noxious weed, the governing authority has the right to go in there and take care of that weed and send the owner of the land the bill for it. And there's a process for it. You have to let them know that there's noxious weeds and they have a certain amount of time to take care of it, and then you go and spray it. And so that's I think.
So would we
it
have
is-
to follow the state's rules then as far as posting and all of that if we're taking care of their problem?
They're in violation.
They're in violation,
of the
so
law.
we're doing what the county would be doing. So technically, any of their rules, I would think we shouldn't have to post and that kind of stuff, because we're doing it. We're telling them to do it and they're not doing it, so we're following our rules.
Correct.
Why should we treat them any different than Ron Dahl? If he had weeds on his land? And they would have a hard time arguing that they should be treated different too.
That's why Larry is filing the complaint with them, and it'll get forwarded to us, and then we'll go from there and follow the rules on how to get it done. But right now, we don't have anybody to spray either, so.
Well, right
I don't
now,
think the state
the
does either.
damage is pretty much done for this year at the stage we're at with this purge, because, like I said, we probably won't get decent control unless we wait till fall now.
It's all getting hated on
Yeah.
anyway.
Yeah.
But it's,
And nobody wants it sprayed right now, I don't think, with Tordon in there, 'cause, so, that's all I have for weed board. I'll visit with Wayne and Cindy, we can visit on it too. When would you like, Wayne and I to come back on this with something?
up to you.
Sometime between now and probably September, but I'm guessing sooner rather than later.
Well, I think you're gonna have to move forward,
Yeah.
because if you have to get some equipment, it's not gonna take a lot, but it's gonna take some. And see if we can get Kenny recertified.
Or whoever wants to be. It isn't really a big deal to be certified.
It's not a drill.
No.
You just have to sit there and look up, there's a lot of questions in a booklet, a couple booklets, and pretty much common sense. So they're,
And the county agent can give the test, so if you have a cooperative county agent. it's
yeah. Yeah, I don't Those I have to send into the state. Private ones that, I'm in charge of, but the state ones Andrew has final say on, so I
Yeah, but you can make sure they fill it in.
Don't fill out
make sure they fill out.
Make sure they're not.
Yeah, that's cool. Don't put that in.
It's on the recording.
It's on the recording.
But you denied it. So.
Yeah, well, you don't have to put it, but yeah. All right, well, that's all I have, guys, so
That's it.
unless you have more of me.
Motion to adjourn?
Yeah.
Is that it?
Motion to adjourn.
I move we adjourn the weed board meeting.
Sean, move we adjourn the weed board meeting, is there a second to the motion?
Second.
Oh, I
Second
don't
by
remember
David.
everything.
Is there any discussion? Is there any discussion? Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you, Jill.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Jill.
52, do we know what time we
Better not
started
be
that?
352. 250.
Oh, 2:52, I'm sorry. What time did you start?
Reconvene the meeting of Griggs County Commission. Emily,
Ready for me again?
2:40.
we're late, but we're here.
I have more handouts.
Well, congratulations on your election also.
Oh, thank you.
When,
Thank you.
assuming you are elected, which I don't think there's any doubt about that, what will be your time schedule then with us? I mean, when will you decide to?
I don't
Be
think,
full-time.
it wouldn't take office till April
Okay.
over there.
Right.
So I wouldn't right now expect anything before
Right.
then.
And
I mean, I'm gonna have a baby, but I'll have time off for that, but
Well, you
other than
You can
that.
have that day off.
As long as it's Saturday or Sunday.
As long as I fit within that 3-kid schedule. Yeah, so,
So-
I mean, sorry.
would you be willing then to, if we find somebody that would you be willing to help train somebody then in the
Sure.
intern?
Okay, we got some
I'll pass
business to
these down.
finish.
2 each. We'll go one more on each side. How's that? We only got 2 papers, right?
I've got 2 pages.
Yep.
Perfect. The first one was for Greenfield that we tabled. And that was for the 3 modifiers that they wanted added to this parcel. The first modifier is they wanted, I did speak with Ed and got a little bit of clarification with him and looked at that road because the road was part of the issue on this one. They want to add the rock modifier to the G250A. It's currently at 7%. They want to increase that to the 15%. The second modification was to the G25A. They want to move 7 acres of that into marsh category, which is at $40 an acre for that one. And then the third modification was to add the 0.56 to road, taken out to road, so that would increase their roads to 4.56 for that. And speaking with Ed, Township Board, as far as the road part of it, it does get wider than the regular road at one part in that quarter. So they felt the 4 wasn't sufficient, that 4.56 was more accurate for that. Looking at it, it does widen a little bit. I did look through the rest of the township. There are just a couple other parcels that do have over 4 acres for road, so it wouldn't be the only parcel with over 4 allotted acres for the road. Does that help clarify any of that on the road for anyone? I printed out a little tiny map that you can't see so great, but you're welcome to try to look. If you look from the left to the right, it does get a little wider on this end. And that area you can see, if you pass it around, is the area for the marsh that they're looking to move some of the 7 acres from that little marshy area. It makes a difference of about $3.80 maybe on the taxes for that road modification. Don't know if that makes a difference in your decision, but I did do the math on it for it.
No, weird.
If I had any here, I'd split it.
Who is it? Oh, Linda, okay.
What are your wishes on this particular request?
Well, I make a motion to approve his request to,
John has moved to approve this request. Is there a second?
as
to the
presented.
motion?
Well, this is on approving the equalization.
Right.
Because we tabled it last time, so, okay.
We did a motion for each one of them, though, didn't we?
Yeah, and it's
This
on this
particular one
one.
was tabled.
Yeah.
Where
Basically
we-
because of the road, wasn't it?
Yep.
Yeah. I thought it was that parade trail and we don't.
I'll move the second.
Seconded by Sean. Is there any discussion? Is there any discussion? Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll proceed to vote. John?
Aye.
Dale?
Aye.
Ron?
Aye.
Sean?
Aye.
Troy votes aye. Motion carries. Okay,
Okay, the other three that we tabled for this time were Willow, Brian, and Rosendahl.
Okay.
And that was to get clarification from Barb as to why the increases and the reassessments. And when the last time Red Willow had the increase, I did that little spreadsheet that you guys have in front of you for each of the three and the changes that were made. And you can kind of see I highlighted when the majority of the increases between the 2011 and 2012 taxable years there, as far as when it was last reassessed. So you have the proposed 2014 increases that she had. As far as Red Willow, those increases were based off of word of mouth sales because, like you said, the land is owned by the one person. So there's not true records of the sales. It's just kind of hearsay or that kind of thing. So she did make the increases based off of that and keeping in mind the sales ratio with similar properties and those value ranges to meet the market. Brian, I put some,
Let me back up a little bit.
sure.
I disagree with Barb's assessment on that. Every one of these properties here is owned by the people that are taxed. None of those raises are on Haynes' property.
But it's all still at Red Willow, right?
It's all Red Willow, but
And
it
so
it
she
can't.
did the whole,
Right, and why do we have two properties that have went down in value and other properties going up? If you look at the first one, it's decreased in value from 2012, 11 or 12 to 2014. And if you look at the Savino property, that's decreased in value also.
I would have to go back. It increased from
No.
2013. It has
They
decreased
went up.
from 2012.
It's 112.
12 to
That's
13 it
111.
went down.
Hmm? No, from originally.
From 12 to
Yeah.
13 there was a decrease and then it has gone up.
not in the Stabenow property, it wasn't. It was the same for 3 years in a row and then it went up a little bit this year.
Right.
Yeah.
And that may be because of lots too on that one.
I guess, what caused the property values to increase?
Hearsay.
The market, well,
But again, her explanation is hearsay because the land isn't owned is false. The land is owned, all these people own that property, they have deeds. to
For
that
the,
property.
for that, but
For
the
the
ones,
comps,
for,
the comparables is what she's saying.
It almost looks like she increased the lots.
for the two at the bottom, under Rosendahl,
Yeah,
those are not. Those are done
yeah, there's
Word of
Haynes,
mouth.
there's Haynes.
right? That Haynes
There's
has,
Haynes
those
pro-
have
there's Haynes property, up in Willow also. And the Haynes property is where the cabins that are leased sit on Haynes property. And anything else here is owned by the individual whose name isn't on.
right,
Yeah.
up in Willow.
Yep.
Let's look at.
And I've asked, and a number of other people has asked to see the comparables. I mean, this is just strictly arbitrary. I mean, it doesn't surprise me that you use word of mouth as a reason for raising these, but that isn't a justification for evaluating property. You know that it has to be based on prior sales. It has to be based on comparables, and none of that has ever been compiled. I've asked for that on my property many times.
They were mostly in Willow building structure increases. There were a few, there were 4 land lot increases,
Yeah.
but they're mostly
was probably that.
mostly the structures for reassessment. You guys have, I mean, you have the final say in it. The township approved them all, and none of the taxpayers showed up to their township meeting, nor have they come when I sent them out notices to attend today either. But it comes down to you
A number of
guys.
them are citizens of Riggs County. That's their lives.
Actually, trying to think, out of the 6, I think only 1 was out of state.
Well, yeah, but
But yeah.
out of county.
We sent,
Anderson is out of county.
but you only had me send to the 6, remember?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, it's evident I have to recuse myself from this vote. I'm a member of this group, so I will recuse myself from this.
So,
What was the average increase? $2,500 or something?
Between 1,000 and 2,300. I mean, there's a couple high ones on there.
John's is the highest one.
Imagine
For
that.
whatever reason. I suppose it's the highest value. So,
Other than the Haynes.
Haynes
Yeah,
Haynes went up
correct. 24 cents on
25,000.
Haynes.
And I might point out also, unless something's changed, the value of my property in a single dwelling is over the limit that she's able to appraise. 500,000, unless I've changed it, 500,000 was the appraised, the absolute value that
maximum appraised value?
Yeah, unless they called in, unless that's changed. Now, that was 3 years ago. But without calling in another assessor.
Yeah, I don't have the whole history on years. She went over some of it in Vanguard and all of that, but I don't, yeah.
No, but I mean, according to
all
state
that.
law, $500,000 under her assessment value on a single dwelling was only $500,000.
For her, right,
Right.
but did Vanguard have some part of the assessment? Because I believe they would be different.
No, Vanguard was out of state, so they were they were hired to value the property, and then in turn, Griggs County used those values to assess the taxes.
Okay.
So what's our options?
You can do them individually, you can do them with a group deal, but you have to do each township stuff.
And we can move to approve it or move to reject it?
Or approve certain ones or reject certain ones. I mean, you could get down.
Certain properties you could move to approve and certain ones reject?
Which one be really careful on that.
That could open
So you're better off doing either or and.
All the taxpayers have had an opportunity to go through the steps involved here and they didn't protest.
No, sure we did.
I don't know if they did or if they didn't, like you said.
Well, I did.
At
Oh,
the
you
township
got a notice?
meeting?
No, when this happened the first time, I protested and it went through the whole system and nothing changed. I think the values are far too high. They're not in line with anything else in these smaller lakes around the state. There's no services provided by the county out there. There's no water, there's nothing. Completely out of line in my estimation. I think the whole thing needs to be reassessed. I think Haynes's property was so far overvalued that it put them in a position where they can't sell it, they can't afford to keep it. When you look at the jumps in the values here, look at the jumps in the values from 2010 to 2011. It went from $76,000 on Olson's to $190,000. It went from $44,000 to $152,000. So are we saying then that the previous assessments were wrong? Or did the value of the property jump up that much?
I think it's a problem. I mean, I wasn't here, but I would imagine it was both.
How does this compare to like Golden Lake over there?
Golden Lake is the same. I would say it has a lot of people feeling the same that John feels. Things are selling for very high amounts. You have still people buying, still people building new, and they're going up. That was just reassessed, not terribly within the last 5 to 10 years there also.
The numbers
The
are
same thing,
similar.
but the county has a little bit of parked in Golden Lake, and it's much different than. But no, I mean, no, they don't have anything assessed at the level that
This is.
Wakefield's
Yeah.
would be.
I mean,
But probably the highest assessment out there is $250,000.
I mean, I can only use it and I can only use the data you have here. Look at the jump from 2010 to 2011. Now, those properties have been assessed in prior years over and over and over and over again, and they gradually moved up. What caused the jump?
Well, gradual's not bad, but when you make a gigantic leap.
Well, I mean, I'll use mine. My property jumped 400%.
In 1 year.
Yeah. Now, you could say that it got a lot more valuable, or you could say that there was a problem with the assessor. I'll guarantee you that I'll go with the problem with the assessor. And it was a personal problem with the assessor, and that's what caused that. And there's been assessments made here vindictively, and I think the whole properties need to be reassessed. And anybody in their right mind can look at this and see when you have properties jumping 100, 200, 300, 400%, that it wasn't an increase. Griggs County property didn't go up that. Nothing went up that anywhere in the state. So what was the problem?
Johnson's went from 17,000 to 158,000, 900%.
Absolutely. It was, and the county commissioner should have stepped in and fired her immediately when that happened. And that didn't happen, but this was done vindictively. No, I'm going on record and saying that, because the proof is right there on the paper in front of you.
What's the penalty or repercussions if we say we reject this? I mean, does the state step in? And
If you are out of compliance with your sales ratio, the state could step in.
So the
Much
state,
like the egg land that we discussed last
so the
time.
state would, if we said no to this, the state would step in and review it?
If you're out of compliance with the sales ratio, which
Well,
you need to be within 100 or 90 to 100%.
But would you report that we're out of compliance with the sales ratio?
It has to do with the abstract that we have to send in for the values for the county
Okay.
and what they have based on the sales for the county, what they have for a sales ratio, and then they take the abstract numbers and the values from the county and
So that would be the next steps, that you would turn that in to them.
But
and then
this
they
By the
is
30th.
personal property though, and it's not, does that show on the sales ratio? It doesn't, does it?
the
For the cabins, the houses and the cabins?
the ones owned, like,
John's,
John's,
yes.
yes.
But those that are on Haynes's, they have no clue.
no. No. The Hanes at the bottom, they don't.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see that as much of a downside to reject it and then send it into the state and then have the state come back and say, you guys are out of compliance. And then we can fight them from there, right?
Yeah, well, we can't reject it. We have to be reassessed at a fair value is what needs to happen. And they were, if you used, we were never given any of the paperwork that was used to determine these values. All she said was it's based on prior sales. And I requested it over and over again, and she would not give it to us. So
Okay.
I am still am entitled to see why my house was assessed at that level.
Just a second here now. The question whether or not we reassess all these lots
Is not on the
is
table.
not on the table today.
Right.
We are either going to approve the changes as proposed by the previous tax director or not. That's the question.
Assessor. Who's
Assess-
the assessor?
Assessor.
Yeah.
Now, someday in the future, we can choose to reassess all these properties, but today is not the day.
So if we choose not to accept it, it'd fall back on the previous assessment then?
Correct.
This
It would
last
stay at the
right.
2013 value.
It doesn't seem so bad.
Most of
That's our
these-
only two options.
Most of
right now.
these are not going to increase the taxes on the property very much. I mean, if.
An example, Mr. Wakefield, yours would be $80. That's the difference.
So,
The Haynes,
May. Because you take
Based off of-
all residential and then depends on the increase.
based
Down
off
to
of the
what?
mill levy from last year,
Yeah.
which mill levies may change depending on your value in the county. Based off of last year's mill levy, that would be your difference.
right. So, just to be clear, we can still deal with this in the future if we so choose. The individual taxpayer won't be materially affected one way or the other, what you guys decide to do today. So,
Yes, it will. If you decide to raise them, it's gonna cost each one that has a higher value more money.
It may.
Well,
Yeah,
I
because,
mean, depending on the mill levies.
well, because what it does is you divide it all out, on all the residentials or whatever, on the budget and all that, so it doesn't actually raise it that amount.
Depending on the budgets and the mill levies.
Right.
I took last year, what was used for your tax statement last year to get that figure.
right.
Well, I mean, to get the county in moving what I think is the right direction, I will move to not accept these.
You should do one township at a time. Which one are you doing now?
first one will.
So, just to clarify, Ron, you moved to keep the assessments at the 2013 level. Is there a second to that motion?
I'll move the second.
Seconded by Sean. Is there any discussion? Is there any discussion? Is there any discussion? Seeing none, we'll proceed to vote. John?
Okay.
No, but I just wanted that in the record.
Yeah.
Reclude.
Dale?
Aye.
Ron?
Aye.
Sean?
Aye.
Troy votes aye. Motion carries. Bryan Township. Now these, in my eyes, these are different deals. These were improvements, weren't they?
Not all of them. Farmland, residential lot increases for a couple of them. There is residential structure and commercial structure for a couple as well. So they're a little bit of both. The farmland increase one, you guys decided last time to leave it at 2013.
Okay.
But that was explaining that that's what those increases over the past few years have been also part of. When you say you've had the 15 or 10% farmland increases, that's accounting for some of these. The residential lot increase was also a big part of the 2014 for Bryan. I'm looking at the Overby.
They built a house or?
No.
Just the lot.
Cody Overby bought a house west of Binford.
Oh.
That was previously owned by a farmer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Does it work that way?
No.
With, I should have maybe looked up the acreage on them too. With the acreage, we don't think.
I don't know.
It's hard to, I mean, that's what you have to kind of take into consideration with some of these farmhouses too, is the amount of the acres that they're getting with the house.
And this is just my opinion, but yeah, I'd like to see the county be more active in opposing these tax increases. So I will move again that we not accept the increase for.
Well,
Okay, all right.
I mean,
That's fine.
motion's been made to keep Bryan Township at the prior year's level. Is there a second to the motion?
But there's structures added, right?
Who made the motion?
Ron did.
Oh, okay.
For some of them, yes.
RS to CS is what?
Residential structure, commercial structure.
Okay.
What is, I'm not familiar with that one, the Rickford one, what happened there?
How much one?
Rickford, the residential to commercial, what, I'm not familiar with that, what happened there?
I don't, they have a commercial structure increase on that as well as a residential structure. Now I don't
Do you have
have
a business?
specifics of what they added.
Who is it?
Rickford.
Yeah, there's more than one.
And Bryan thought, oh, I see.
You want me to run and grab a first name?
Keith. Keith and Bryan.
What did he do?
Is he farm?
Sure.
Farms, he trucks, he. So does Doug, there's Ryan.
Right.
But I can't imagine.
It's a $10,780 increase for the commercial structure. It's almost $19,000 for residential increase for the residential structure on that parcel.
So they didn't meet the rule for farming?
I would imagine
If it
not.
was,
They-
if it was farming, it wouldn't have been taxed at all prior.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
With the commercial building part of it, I assume they probably were over the 40,000 off farm income.
I've never seen this tax record, so I don't know. Maybe he does a lot of trucking, I think, probably was his main.
Is there a second to Ron's motion?
I'll second it.
Okay, Egremont,
Are we doing all, or are you doing some?
I wanna know what each one of them is.
Well, I made the motion for everyone in Bryan Township.
Right, and now we've had a second, so now the discussion phase of it starts.
Oh, okay.
Discussing it.
Okay, all right.
Egremont, what happened?
20,000 residential. In 2000, the little increase from 2010 to 11 was due to the farmland.
Right.
But from 13 to 14 is residential structure increase, 20,000.
There's living quarters in that shop he built. Is this Leroy?
Is it what?
Leroy Egremont?
I
No,
believe so.
No, not
It
Brian.
sounds
He's not
familiar.
Brian. No, he's not
Well, it's gotta
Brian.
be Junior, laid up there. I don't think he built anything, he bought a house.
did he buy that out there?
Bought the house and he lives in there.
No, doesn't he is in Bryan? Oh, where does he doesn't live out in Jesse anymore.
Nope, Leroy lives west of, or if you go north of Strumpset, where the schoolhouse used to be.
No, Leroy, yeah.
Yeah, Leroy Junior.
Oh, he bought that house that
Used to be
Jimmy Baki,
Yeah.
he moved in there?
If it was being assessed as a farm residence before, he would get that exemption, so that could be the increase.
It could have never been as a farm residence, so, because Jimmy Baki lived in it before he died.
But it wasn't assessed as a residence,
Was it sitting empty, right?
It's been empty for a while, yeah.
So that's why the change,
yeah.
okay? So that's kind of a vacant to inhabited.
Overby, the next one has the lot and the structure. Previous to this year, those small increments of increase were the farmland increases. But the 2013 to 14 does have a lot increase as well as the structure on the next one.
Because he built onto his house, first in Lana.
And these were the 6 that I did send the letters to also.
But he's a,
No, this is Cody Overby. I
oh,
think.
Cody, I'm sorry. He bought that place on the corner, on
Yeah.
the most corner.
Yeah.
So that went from farm to residential. Okay.
Plus a structure. Right?
Plus what?
Plus the increase in the structure. They all had the structure increases, the residential structure increases and that's why we sent out the letters. These are I should have maybe clarified a little better in my reasonings for you guys, but the farmland increases were your increases coming up to the 2013, the 19 to 21,000, 21 to 21,760. Hey, is it following now? Do you guys understand where I went with that? And then this year, the residential lot increased as well as the structures that we were discussing.
So none of these went from exempt properties to taxable properties, it was increases in the lot.
That first one did, that one for Overby.
Was it Egremont? That one went from a vacant house to inhabited.
Yeah.
Right, but I mean, none of them went from exempt.
Hey, Overby did.
Vacant exempt.
Same. They aren't taxed.
I think those two are accurate. What's the Saxburg one?
That is the same farmland increases up to this year. This year it was residential lot increase. It's a small $750 increase for the lot, $1,900 increase for the structure.
So that wasn't exempt to taxable.
Is that Brian Saxburg? Does he own the house out of town?
So we increased the value on that property?
The structure was increased $1,900 in value, and the lot was $750.
What, didn't it change though from farmland lot
No.
to, didn't, okay.
So none of these changed from farmland to, or from exempt to residential?
Correct.
None of them did.
We had some acres coming down. If we go down to the Brickford, they're the ones with the commercial increase and the residential increases. We did have some increases, or some change in acreage there from farmland. 5 acres was moved. But that is, again, the increase in residential and the commercial. So acreage was put, I believe I put it on the commercial on
The
that
commercial
one.
was a new structure?
I believe so. I believe I moved the acreage to the commercial part. Do you remember when no.
I guess I'm still mixed up on the overview one. Farmland to residential?
Coming up from 2009, those slight increases coming all the way to the 2013 were your farmland increases.
Yeah.
And then the increase from the 31,562 up to the 69,272 is increasing for the lot, residential lot, and residential structure values.
So they were
They were exempt before?
No.
No.
Oh, they weren't.
So
No.
that's, so
You just
These are all just reassessments. They're not changing classifications.
Except for the commercial one.
Right, it had a residential value on it previously.
Oh, okay.
It's
And they
still
just
just a
classified it
reassessment. Does that make
Yeah,
sense?
so
You increased the residential and added the commercial.
So I want to add one more caveat to this whole scenario. Of the 5 townships that Ms. Anderson assessed, they were the 5 top townships that went up in values. She did 5 and she held the top 5 positions. This is,
So Cody Overby paid $69,000 for that place, and she went and read the deed and put that on there as a true and full value?
correct.
That's not how that's supposed to be done, is it?
Not per se. I mean,
Not per se.
I would have to look at the deed.
You know it's not.
Right. But there's things, if it's, general practice is you would investigate that sale, see if there was personal property involved, if there was a reason why the assessment falls out of what they purchased it for. But if it's assessed at $31,000 and they paid $69,000 for it, and they can't, wasn't,
Yeah, but even so.
furnishings
I built
involved
my
or
house, I didn't
things.
have to provide documentation of what that house cost, and that true and full value on my taxes isn't what I.
You don't have to, but that's something tax directors try to investigate and figure out why it sold for that much. Is it
But
truly
the true and full value on
market
the
that's
tax,
bumping it
on
up?
the taxes isn't marketable value.
That's correct.
It should be close.
And your sale price does go to the tax directors, I think, don't you? You guys get all the sale prices.
Right.
And they have to
That's-
work with the state on how that, to make everything right. Say if you sell to a relative and you sell them $50,000 under that market value, that has to be written somewhere and sent to the state, and that's why that was done.
That's why the state
It's-
takes that out of our sales
Right.
ratio, because it's
Yeah,
not
well, you
technically
just-
a true sale.
You just made the argument for the opposite of that. If something sells for overvalue, that doesn't become the taxable value of the property. The taxable value of the property is the market value at the time. So your scenario was, if I sell something underpriced, we can't tax it for what I sold it for, or you bought it for because it was underpriced. The same holds true overpriced. And that's why, okay, so.
It can go both ways.
They go
Right,
both
so,
ways.
so for her to go in and look at what the selling price of that property was, and then assign that as a taxable value is incorrect. It has to be based on comparable sales and market value. And the fact that all 5 of the counties, the townships that she assessed were the top increases in values leads me to believe that we should disregard all of her assessments for last year. And she doesn't get carte blanche to just say, these are the increases without providing documentation. There have to be comparables, and it all has to be documented, and that should be presented to us.
I don't think she just randomly goes in and moves everything to a sale price. There is
Then
a process, and her boards have approved them, so we do need to take, the say taxpayers didn't, and I know you've said there's been issues in the past and people don't feel comfortable possibly showing up, but if they haven't come forward and the townships are approving them on a township level, you gotta take maybe some of that into consideration also.
I don't.
You don't,
I believe
but I'm just saying, from a tax director standpoint,
I believe I'm the advocate, the final advocate for the people that are in my district. And if I believe that they're being treated unfairly, I have to stand up for them. And I believe they're being treated unfairly. I believe that when we have the top 5 townships, the highest assessed by one assessor, logic only dictates that we have something wrong. How can right across the line property values not go up and on this side of the line they do? And if that's the case, just because somebody is too shy or doesn't want to stand up because they think there's no hope for them, that's what I'm supposed to be here for.
I think and I'm not trying to argue different points with you, I'm just trying to bring up other ways to maybe look at it also as the other townships that have their own assessors within those townships, that they're not maybe per se, maybe you have the farmhouses that are being assessed at 15,000, and if they were to be reassessed the whole township by, say, one person came in and did the whole county, they would, possibly be brought up to that level too. The situation with Barb, I think she's doing, the handfuls of reassessments for her townships or cities that she's contracted to do the assessing for, and trying to get them up to the same levels as the other ones that have been reassessed. So maybe it comes off looking like that, where the Joe in, say, one of our other townships here,
Maybe they haven't
Kingsley,
quite done their job on the
maybe,
neighboring township.
has just turned in the book with 0 changes for the past 5 years. So that's truly not keeping those properties up to market values.
Well, I guess it all depends on what your perception of an assessor or the whole perception of tax equalization is. It seems that everybody in government feels that the job of the assessor or the equalizer is to keep raising taxes. Equalization is 2 sides of a line. It's not only going up, but it's going down. And we constantly just keep raising, and with the rationale that, well, it's only $6 a year. Well, yeah, but it's $6 this year, and it's $6 next year, and it's $6 the year after. And for what purpose? Why are we taking the people's money? Why don't we just get more efficient in government? Why don't we keep cutting taxes and make government get more efficient rather than raising taxes and let government get sloppy? It's a mixed up system to me, and I'll never vote to raise anybody's taxes. I'll always vote to lower them.
Is there there any further discussion? Is there any further discussion? Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll proceed to vote on Bryan Township. The motion on the table is to leave the assessments on these said properties as they were in 2013. John?
I can vote this time, aye.
Dale?
No.
Ron?
Aye.
Sean?
Aye.
Troy votes no. Or, yeah, no. Motion carries.
So 2 noes and 3 yeas?
Yeah.
Okay.
And let me quantify that. I know the argument is gonna be that, well, now someone didn't get their taxes raised, why were mine raised? That lends to my whole scenario where now if someone feels slighted, now they should come forward. Now they can say, well, Mr. Overby got his taxes lowered, why shouldn't I get mine lowered? That's exactly what I want to happen. I want them to come forward and think they have a voice here. And then I can say, yes, you should have your taxes lowered, let's do it. So I hope it does cause controversy. So we can reverse this trend where no one has any hope of it getting anything done.
Okay, Rosendale Township.
Those were the 2 Red Willow.
Those
For Haynes.
Those are the hearsay ones. Right?
No, there's no.
Reassessments for the 2 parcels for Haynes, and those were residential structure increases
Yeah.
for reassessments for those 2 parcels only.
That's all of Haynes, that's the
Really?
west half of Red Willow, all the rented properties.
That's the lots.
No.
Those are the buildings, I believe.
The buildings are assessed on Haynes, and Haynes passed the cost on to the
Oh, I see.
owners. That's
So that lease increases.
that's why she said these were based on hearsay.
I see.
Those increases, because they don't have an actual deed to that property.
They're all lumped onto
There's
the.
no trade.
They own the building on it, but
Parcels.
they don't own the dirt under it.
Right, so they can't pay taxes, so Haynes is get the value of the, and, you know. And I suppose not hard to figure out that I'm not in favor of raising taxes based on hearsay.
Is any of it new buildings?
What was that, Connie?
Well, I just wondered if any of it was new buildings.
Not that she said.
I don't know of any new structures that haven't been built on private lots.
There was one over there.
Was there?
Yeah, on the other side.
Not last year, though.
No, 3 years ago, 4 years ago.
That one from Carrington?
Yeah,
Is that a lease lot?
yeah,
Really?
yeah. But there was no new structures, correct?
Not that she's mentioned.
Yeah. What are your wishes?
I'll make a similar motion. I move that we not accept the adjustment for Rosendahl.
Ron has moved to leave the Rosendahl assessments the same as 2013. Is there a second to the motion?
I'll second the motion.
Seconded by Sean. Is there any discussion? Is there any discussion? Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll proceed to vote. Sean?
Aye.
Dale?
Aye.
Ron?
Aye.
I almost asked Emily. Sean?
Aye.
Troy votes aye. Motion carries.
Okay.
Thank you, Emily.
Then I just need you to close, do a motion to close the,
I might say that.
I was gonna mention, yeah.
I
can
do have
wait till
one
you guys
question.
finish.
Oh,
If
go ahead.
you want
Oh, I
to
got
down.
one question I asked Emily prior, and it involves the modifiers. The problem with pasture land being valued along with cropland based on soils, and the only modifiers were rocks, and it's always been the assumption that from the prior tax director, there's nothing we could do about that. That in fact is false. We can create a modifier for pasture. And we can create the modifier to a percentage that reflects the cost of pasture land and the cost of farmland, so that we can correct this problem that we've been going through for the last 4 years that we've been told we couldn't correct. Another instance where we've been misled. And by being misled, it costs the taxpayers of Griggs County a lot of money. And I think that there should be repercussions for some of this crap that's going on. Is that fair?
You can change your modifiers or create new modifiers every year
Just for pasture.
for whatever you want.
Whatever
You can come up with
Modifiers.
whatever scale of modifier you'd like, and then it gets turned into the state for approval
Got
to
it.
use for the next year.
Be careful on blame because Barb did not do the modifiers, your soil board did your modifiers. You have so many people on that soil board and they did up the modifiers.
Well,
And they were all finalists.
many people asked if there's anything they could do because of the pasture land being valued along with the cropland. And she told me and everybody else over and over and over again, there's nothing that can be done. Nothing that can be done. And there was something that could be done, and it's straightforward, and it should have been done. And instead of everybody listening to her and nodding her head and say, well, yeah, that's all we can do, someone should have looked into it, Dennis.
So you guys, yeah, I can't speak for Barb because I'm not here, so, but I mean, you guys
I
did
wish she'd
come
come here
about
and speak for herself.
with some modifiers to start the process of helping. And honestly, if you go from one end of the state to the other, there's counties that don't use a single modifier, and there's counties that have 10, 15 modifiers.
Yeah.
Different ranges of minimum acres you can use, the percentage that you can discount it by. But again, every year you have the option to submit your modifiers for the following year to the state. The state gets them all and they send approval. You use them for that year.
Or can they approve them or disapprove them?
No.
The state. When you send a modifier in just for pasture of saying 50% of whatever it is off, and you give send that to the state looks at it and says, no, I'm not gonna accept that.
I've not heard of them not accepting it. I know in Steele County we made an exception and one was for 50% off of a certain soil type. So
Okay, so-
I believe some counties have a modifier for that, but you want to kind of take that in mind also that really could possibly eventually increase your other values.
No, that's just a person have to find out. I mean, you'd have to find out the whole process.
Well, here's the scenario. We have cropland, let's just use wrong figures. We have cropland at $4,000 an acre. And let's just say we have pasture land at $1,000 an acre. Well, the pasture land now is being taxed at, because the soils are the same, at the same rate at the $4,000 an acre. It's not capable of earning the same amount of money as that cropland, but we're taxing it that because the soils are there and potentially could be used for cropland. It should be based on use, not on potential. I used a scenario, I bought the bank in Binford. The bank building, when it was a bank, it was taxed as its potential. It had a high tax value because it was a bank. When it's no longer a bank, the tax value was dropped because it still has a potential. I can still use it as a bank, I choose not to. Why are we making farmers take farmland or take pasture land and making them, or taxing them, forcing them to use it as cropland? When we don't do it on commercial buildings.
It should be highest and best use for taxation. The state has given us this soil program across the board to use. That's why we use it. But I mean, there's steps you can look at changing your modifiers and
But we
submitting
don't
those.
treat commercial buildings as highest and best use. It gets taxed for what it is being used for, not its potential. Well, we're taxed, yes it is. I just gave you the scenario with the bank. I'll give you another one, of the elevator in Binford that was taxed at $400,000 when it became a private elevator. The taxes went down because it didn't have the potential, that business potential anymore. But farmland, we treat highest and best use. Commercial property, we don't. We tax it on what's being used for.
I think we need to move on here, because I need to leave in 15 minutes, so let's.
Okay.
We are, I think we're done with the equalization. Is there a motion to approve them as accepted by,
You already did that, now you just need to close your equalization.
oh, close, is there a motion to close the equalization?
I move to close.
Ron's moved to close the equalization for 2014. Is there a second to the motion?
I'll second.
Seconded by Dale. Is there any discussion? Is there any discussion? Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion carried.
Thank you.
Thank you, Emily.
Yeah, good push. We got 3 more things to go through.
Then they better hustle. Next thing I have here is superintendent of schools.
Yep. You're up, Sam.
Okay, so I've been working on the superintendent of schools paperwork. I thought the assignment to be signed by most people. Still have to have Jamie to re-sign it because I had him sign a separate piece of paper and then everybody else signed a different one. And then I have half of the assignments of statutory duties for DPI done, but I still need to do the other half. But there is a conference coming up on, was it?
July, isn't it?
July
In
13th.
July, yeah. Right before, right after, July what date?
It's right before commissioners, next commissioners meeting, or the middle meeting.
13th to 15th.
Yep. So I just need, I would really like to go, so I just need your approval since it's not in the budget.
You'd have to come out of the general courthouse budget to pay for her travel, her room, and there's a $75 fee. And they told her that they'd be covering a lot of the ground, and then by the time she comes back, hopefully we'll have all the documents done to present, because you'll have to have a resolution and then to disperse the superintendent schools. It's not disperse either, it's what, but anyway, huh?
Dispense with?
Yeah, dispense with the superintendent schools, make it her job, and then there's a bunch of jobs that will be divvied out, and that's why we haven't gotten it done. There's a lot of red tape to it. And with election and everything else that's been going on, we just haven't been able to finish it. She had to get 2 superintendent school signatures, and she got that done. And then there's some other signatures she's got to get to, and then she'll need your guys' at the end. So hopefully by the time you meet in the middle of July, we'll have it all ready. She just needs permission to go to the meeting and to pay it out of the general courthouse fund.
That's a lot of paperwork for.
It's ended up being a lot. So I don't know if you want to give her permission to go, or she'd need a motion for your approval.
It's not in the budget anymore?
It's not. We haven't been budgeting anything for the superintendent schools. And we probably should start.
Make a motion to allow Samantha to go to the conference with the funding coming from the house, correct? Is that what you said?
Courthouse.
Courthouse fund.
The old courthouse, not the new one.
Good point.
Set up a cabinet or something.
Yeah.
Is there a second to the motion?
I'll move to second.
Seconded by Dale. Is there any discussion? Is there any discussion? Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, proceed to vote. John?
Aye.
Dale?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Sean?
Aye.
Five votes aye. Motion carries. Thank you, Samantha. New courthouse.
This is for,
Did you have something, Wayne?
I'm not on the agenda, but I was just gonna update you on projects. formal, I can just talk to you.
Okay.
It's not that right now.
Okay.
But if you want to settle whatever there's a motion made, I think.
That passed, didn't it?
Yeah, it was all roll call.
Okay. Just gonna update you, the box culvert is in Sutton Road, they did that. It isn't completed yet, they've got some finishing to do on the slopes and stuff. Mayo is gonna start patching some spots on the Sutton project tomorrow. And then they'll overlay where they took those culverts out. Put back in, that's gotten pushed back, probably mid-July, I think. A little note here. We're gonna start the 20 million will be after the 4th, and then mid-July the paving. And the chip seal is after the 27th of July too, because there's that more seal coat, got another project in another county that's using the same kind of oil as we have. And so they wanted to do those two projects at the same time. So that'd be towards the end of July.
There's signs up by Matco right now on 15. I mean, there are more seal coat signs.
Okay.
But maybe they're doing something else.
They have a different oil that they're using, see, theirs.
Okay.
That's it.
Okay.
Just thought I should update you.
Yep, thank you, Wayne.
All right.
You sign in?
Partially signed, Wayne Oyen, Road Department.
Partially.
Put my phone number.
Oh.
If you leave it early, you gotta sign out too.
Okay.
Ron, you have something for the new courthouse?
Yeah, the proposal was in here from CCMGC, the consulting group. And the history on that really is that, Sonia Kraft has done a tremendous job, I think, in watching out for our interests and fighting construction engineers, and she's forced them to make a lot of their buildings smaller. But she's had kind of a lonely fight at times. And she said that she's not an accountant. And she said, I really could use help. And I've tried to help her, but I'm not an accountant. And I wrote down some of these, like there's an $81,000 change order coming in for certified payroll that we have to fight. A $64,000 ad for winter heat we got to fight. The $95,000 contingency reallocation. The equipment rental appears to have about doubled to $55,000. The drywall is a mess because part of it was in a contract and part of it out of the contract. And I don't know if this is the right answer, but I do agree with her that she's done both, that she's done a tremendous job and that she needs more help, either more help from us or as individuals or more help as commissioners, or, that's what prompted me to ask this auditor what he could do to help us so that she doesn't have to do it all alone. Could this auditor step in and look at some of these costs and verify what she is saying, that, this subsistence or overtime or some of those? And I'm not really sold on the idea because, he is an auditor, he's not a lawyer. And a lot of this almost needs a lawyer to look at the contract terms. And I know we've all looked at those, and you can read most of them either way, it seems like, that a judge would probably interpret them either way. And so maybe a lawyer's a better answer than an auditor. But when she asked me, she said, you must know somebody who's an accountant that can help out. That prompted me to ask for this, to see. And it was a lot higher than I thought it was going to be. Yeah, so, I think she's probably saved us several $100,000. She was the one that pointed out that the billing rates at $40 an hour shouldn't be used and $50 an hour should not be used. And then I tried to go back and see how much that saved us or how much it reduced it. But their billings are so screwed up, in my opinion. I don't know if you're... Yeah, that I can't make heads or tails out of it. And I spent a lot of time trying to trace this stuff down. And she mentioned her husband described it like a Sudoku puzzle. Sometimes Sudoku. What? How do you already say that? But you look in one area and it's got a code, then you look, that referred you to another area with another code. Then that means you got to look here. And I've gotten, I suppose, I think I could figure out how much they spend on overtime, but it would take me a long time. And subsistence and some of those others, I don't know if I ever could figure it out.
So I
So,
guess until we know how far over the guaranteed maximum price they're gonna end up,
well,
at the end of the day, it's hard to say, yeah, we should go spend $35,000 on an audit.
yeah, but I mean, we do, at some point in time, if we get money in, we have to, I think we owe them 700,000 or something.
550, I think.
Construction.
Yeah, 550.
558.
But I mean, before we pay any of that money, I would think we want to be damn sure it's legitimate. I mean, I hate to pay them the money and then try to fight with them and get it back
But
out.
there's a holdback on every payment.
Well, yeah, but that's not,
5%.
yeah, that's not much.
Here's what's gonna happen, in my estimation, is they're gonna get with the change order or the, what they're proposing to be able
$2,000
to.
at a time.
They're gonna get it to their gross guaranteed maximum price as it sits right now. And then, in order to proceed forward from that, they're gonna demand, and they have the right to, that we sign a change order before they proceed. So they're gonna have us over a barrel. It was the intention anyway. They started right from the start with the framing, they were going over and over and over. Once they got to the guaranteed maximum price, they were gonna say, we're not proceeding any farther until you sign that. And it's gonna be the same thing happen here. So, it is where it is. Ron's right, that if we pay them, that money's not coming back. Right now, we have the luxury of not being able to pay them.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, you know, so I don't know what the answer is. I know it's a huge mess, and he's right there, they've overcharged for a lot of things. They went outside the contract.
It sure appears that way to both me and Sonia, but.
Yeah,
And
and if you guys notice, the contingency, remember, they could only have $2,000. Well, just as we predicted, they went through and they knocked everything under $2,000, and they ran the contingency right to the limit. I mean, it's as evident as standing in the mirror and looking at yourself, what's gonna happen here. And that is where it is, and the money's gone, and even if we get the grant, there's gonna be no more money to finish that, plus we're still gonna hold construction engineers for what this. That's the observation, I don't have an answer for it.
Yeah.
But there's gonna be a time here fairly quickly where the county's sued, the building authority is sued. And I think that comes real quickly as soon as they've justified the cost. That's what they're going doing right now, is setting all the buildings so they can justify every cost. And then they're gonna file suit, as they have to, they are owed money.
And our defense is that they're not owed that money because they overbilled us, but that's just me and Sonia and John and others saying that they did it incorrectly. I mean, it would help them to have an experienced auditor verifying that.
Well, we might be forced into that position.
Well, they will justify their costs. We will have to then be able to offer a counter to that justification, or that will become what's owed.
That's what I mean, we might end up doing that just
We
to
will.
defend our position.
There's no doubt about that. And you can be assured of one thing, that whether or not anybody runs for re-election, you'll be here long after your term has expired here. This will be 10 years down the road by the time this is all settled.
And for what it's worth, they did mention their schedule for July and August is filling up fast. You know.
Remember that beer?
Yeah, I know. Yeah, exactly right. But, and so I don't know. I mean, maybe the answer is, like you say, just wait. Wait until we're forced into it. And then do it when we're forced into it. But, I mean, they're gonna, well, if we do get money from the Bank of North Dakota, they are going to expect us to pay it to them. And with these kind of change orders outstanding, I wouldn't be comfortable giving them anything, you know.
Well, Sonia would end up being the arbitrator on those things.
Yeah, I think that's the first step, and then it goes to litigation. If we can't agree with her mediation or arbitration or whatever it was. So, I guess we sure don't have to make a decision today, but if everyone thinks about it and reads that proposal and talks to Sonia if we get a chance, and roll it over.
Yeah, I guess to follow that. We very well might get the grant money that might come through, but with the caveat that by receiving the money does not ensure that we're in compliance with the grant. And then we're gonna be forced with, we're gonna have a terrible decision to make, because this is gonna have an audit at the end of the project. And we could very well be in the same position that happened with this building south of town, where they took the money, they knew they were in violation, when they came and did the audit, they were forced to pay $600,000. And that could very well be the position we're put in here. That the state is gonna say, and I've said it before, that we're giving you the money, but it's your responsibility to be in compliance with the grant. And we turn around, we spend the money, it's gone. They come and do the inspection and they say, you're in violation, give us the money back. And there we sit. Then our only option is to follow through and do what the previous commissioners had in mind all the time, raise taxes. And I don't want to get back into that corner.
I don't think we can raise taxes to pay for a building we don't own. I think it's illegal. I would not do that. I mean, I would never vote to do that.
I wouldn't either, but I'm just saying, I'm just telling you what I've been saying all along, and this road that we're going down, and so far we haven't deviated off it much. It's.
Project is $2 million underfunded, any way you slice it.
Well, you can go back and Ron said many times it was 4.6 or 4.7 million dollars, and now with what we've just been shown, it's what it is. Keeping in mind, there's money that was spent in 2012 that was attributed to this project.
Yeah.
You know, but it didn't show up in that, in that $700 and some odd $1,000. There was money in 2012 that could be attributed to it, that, because they were starting the whole process.
It actually started in 2011.
Yeah. So anyway.
The problem is, I don't think DES is going to give us any of that, are they?
No, they totally denied that.
What's that?
And the problem is they were in on that, so that's why I can't believe they denied it. So
How is that coming home?
Oh, we sent everything off last Friday,
Okay.
so just waiting.
Was there any of it that was completely denied, or was some of it was in question, or everything was
There were a
available?
couple of things that were in privilege before the grant date.
Yeah.
And we were going by a different date, so.
But there wasn't.
No. I don't think there was anything else that was completely denied.
Well, we'll just have to wait and see what they come up with.
I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing. The grant, it's gonna cost us more than $1 million to keep this building.
You can make, it depends on how long you stretch this out. If you look at the short term, the grant is a good deal. If you stretch it out over the years that we'll have to take care of this building and all the hassles, the financial problems associated with that, the heating and everything else, all you do is just keep pulling out until it doesn't make sense. And if that's at 15 years or 18 years or 20 years, and then everything after that point is just money you throw in the hole. Unfortunately, we are where we are, and we can't take the sails down. Wherever the wind's gonna blow us, we're gonna go home.
We could have tuck pointed this building in its entirety for?
95,000.
No,
96 96,000, you just got a bid.
We got a bid.
Yeah, that bid was for 95,000.
No, there was different portions.
Well, if they did just the north and the east side, that would be 70,000. But if they did the whole thing, that was 95,000.
Who was that?
Didn't I send it to you?
Oh.
Mid-Continental Masonry?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
It wasn't the people that said we had to take the bricks off and turn them all and charge us a million.
Yeah, I thought I said that.
That was through the architect we talked about doing the bricks run. I don't know what the bid amount was on that.
It was over, well, according to the minutes of the meeting, Bob Hook said it was over $1 million.
I remember hearing that number.
But he lost the paperwork.
I don't know. Well, yeah, I remember reading the minutes of the meeting where it's in it. It was over $1 million and that was.
I've never found.
I thought when phase 1, phase 2, and phase 3 of that, I thought it added up to 210,000.
No, his first price was $95,000, and I said, well, what about if we just did the north and the east side, did it in 2 phases, so give me a price for doing just the north and east side. He said that would be 70,000.
Yeah.
So
their initial setup costs were so high that.
What's that?
Where was he from?
They're nationwide outfit, because I swear I sent that to you, but if I didn't, I'll make sure I will. I listed all of a bunch of references where they worked from Texas to North Dakota.
Because I know we had the car tuck pointing, and I know they started out low like that, then they turned around and gave us the $200,000 to $400,000 to do it.
Now this company, they had a lot of good references and stuff. I'm sure sent that to you, but they've been in business a long time, and that's just what they do.
But they know the whole size of the building and everything.
Well, he came out here, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, he's got pictures in his proposal from all sides. And he was the one that I was mentioning that he thought that 10% of the brick should be replaced.
Yeah.
Okay.
I believe is what he said, so.
Quite simply, the $767,000 that we spent last year outside the project cost could have fixed this thing. We had that money left over to heat it for its lifetime.
I guess the last thing on the agenda is that I did ask him to come out and do some mold tests. It probably wasn't real smart of me to wait until the wettest spring that we've had, I don't know how many years now.
That's a good test.
It's worst case scenario.
Well, not surprisingly, the mold levels were higher than what they did, and I'll send that out to everybody. But the mold levels are higher than what they were 4 years ago. And, like me and Cindy looked at where that water's leaking into that stairwell there, I guess we can safely assume that if we don't do anything, the mold's not gonna go away by itself. I guess we don't need to get any more tests from them guys to tell us that. So there's gonna be mold there until we do something.
And then did they have a remedy for it?
Same as before.
Just fix it.
Yeah, well, keep the water from running into the basement. And extend your downspouts. Yeah, same ones as before.
Well, so then we have a baseline now. Let's do what they say and see if it fixes it.
Or get estimates or something, I guess. I still don't even know where that water's coming from there. But
And we need to get the gutters fixed.
Well,
and where the windows are broken, those windows need to get fixed. You could tell.
Yeah. But when I went up there with that roofer, it didn't look like the gutters were leaking to me. But you
They
can't.
aren't leaking?
I didn't think so, and he didn't think so. But the only way you can't see that much from up there. You can't see the gutters from the other side. I don't know how you get an estimate unless you had a boom truck, I guess.
I'm thinking the water spots in the roof over there are coming from those windows that are broken because we never had the glass on the ground before, and I think they finally fully broke out. So they need to get fixed.
Yeah, obviously the water leaking into the building, anywhere from broken windows or from the gutters or from wherever it's coming into the stairwell.
Yeah.
Seems like it should be a priority, and I guess I could try to get it tested.
It wasn't in what's his name's report that the water was leaking between the walls? Because I can't remember, somebody came up with that.
In Badlands report?
No, not Badlands, the architect maybe. It wasn't in there.
I've just seen it in Badlands.
Oh, it's in
that cavity wall, they thought water was getting into the cavity wall. But I'm not sure even what you know, I thought it was a different cavity wall than what you thought it was, but neither one of them looked wet. The drywall didn't look wet.
No.
It really only looked wet at the
Well,
south stairwell.
the thing, you could see the mason stuff sitting.
Well, yeah, I mean, she took a picture of a light fixture that was full of water. You know, I mean, it's the one that's down there that you pointed out to us, that it had been full of water. Well,
Just figuring out where the water's coming from.
I mean, she says, you guys ought to fix something like that. Well, I don't know if we had $1,200 to learn that, but.
That's in vogue now, we go fishing and call it aquarium.
Yeah. So anyway.
I make a motion, we let Royal State. Make a motion, we adjourn.
I think we've covered our agenda.
I think so, yeah.
Been moved by John to adjourn. Is there a second to the motion?
I'll second.
By Dale. Is there any discussion? Is there any discussion? Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Meeting adjourned. Next meeting, July 3rd at 1 p.m.
4:15. 4:11.